mic'd up with Mikie Mahtook. Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got J. Mitch. We got Jackie Boy.
He tried to jump up and he might have knocked it in.
Good time. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys would come in and say,
oh, God.
So me and Joe on the ground. I got Joe in a headlock. And he's sitting there.
Helmet.
He's punching me in the stomach, like steady punching me.
Here, and there's everyone sitting around. Who here thinks Ochinko can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad's been with the team 6 minutes. For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Ochinko can practice today. And I was like, I look back, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I fucking saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
Be on the Spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
You heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her. I smelled.
Whoa. What was that?
Time to start the show.
I never want to eat.
Why would I have that?
You had the circus or something. What was that?
6:03, I'm late. Like, I don't even know what I'd be doing.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you going to bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it?
Yeah. The SEC is, God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? And it's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they're all fatter than me.
Players, look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now. Hello. Good evening, good afternoon. It's a long day. Look, I'm struggling. It was a long night, great night. Today is Friday, March 31st, last day of March before we go to April showers. Boy, what a game we witnessed last night. We were there. Me and Jay were there. Lloyd was there. Jack, who's not in the studio right now, was there. Maybe he's still recovering from post-celebration. He had 2 tests that he nailed. Then he goes out to the tailgate. Then he goes to the game. The game was electric.
He was causing a ruckus.
Well, he said it wasn't him.
Oh, okay.
He said he wasn't him. But we're going to get to that. But the game last night, we've talked about leading up into the week. We've talked about it leading up into the season, honestly, about how special LSU is and how good and how deep the SEC is, right? And these 2 teams, as far as talent goes, you would imagine are the class of the SEC, right? Vanderbilt's playing really well. South Carolina's playing really well. You know, Florida's actually really good. But Tennessee and LSU the last year or so have had this, budding feud. And they have had a lot of chirping. Tennessee has been on the top of college baseball. Not the top, but they have been hyped in college baseball. They're pegged as the best team in the history of baseball last year. Well, they didn't make it out of the Super Regional. They come in this year, have a super talented team. Their rotation's really good. Chase Dollander, who threw last night, was projected number 1 overall. We get Paul Skeens. He comes in. Now, he's projected top 5, maybe 1 overall, him and Dylan Cruz. So you see a matchup with top-tier talent. And you hope that it lives up to the expectations. You hope it lives up to the hype. And I believe last night it not only lived up to the hype, but it surpassed anything that we could have imagined. The atmosphere was electric in Alex Box Stadium. The teams played unbelievable baseball, showed you how important high quality and those types of games, right? In those types of games, the littlest things make the biggest difference. And we're going to get into that throughout the course of the show and kind of pick and choose some of the moments that we felt were pivotal in the game, right? There wasn't many, but when they were and you had the opportunity, you came through. But man, it was so much fun. And I didn't get to bed till 12:30. Woke up this morning, had to do some work before I come on the show. And I'm exhausted, but you know what? We're rebounding. We're going to go, me and Jay are going to be out there today. Maybe Lloyd, we're trying to work on that one.
Perks of the gig.
Perks of the gig, yeah. So let's run through. We don't really
sneak in last night.
You did. We don't have many Heineken headlines today.
You know I slither.
Oh, you are sneaky. You are sneaky. We don't have many Heineken headlines. Today's a baseball show. Obviously, we're gonna recap last night. We're gonna preview today. LSU, the women's basketball takes on their Virginia Tech in the Final Four. Unfortunately, at the same time as baseball. So if you're at the game, look at it, watch it on your phone. If you're at the women's basketball game, hopefully you're checking in with the baseball scores. MLB opening day was last night. They had some big storylines and some big games. Obviously, it's the first game of the season. You don't want to put too much stock into it. Aaron Judge, he's still
picked up where you left off.
Still Aaron Judge. Hit the homer. First homer of the season. I think I saw someone
First
on Twitter,
inning of the season.
First inning of the season. I think someone on Twitter picked him to do it. It was like plus 1,500 or something. Won that bet. Cashed in. Got it. Adley Rushman, who LSU fans may remember because they played Oregon State when Adley was at Oregon State. Number 1 overall pick in the draft. To one of the top prospects in baseball. Made his major league debut, I think, in last year. And started the season off going 5 for 5. So great start to the season for him. George Springer went 5 for 6. A lot of really good storylines. Aaron Nola got his 6th straight start. Started off hot. Had a little rough patch in the I think the 4th or the 5th. But baseball is in full swing. It is ready to go, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Sidebar on Major League Opening Day. I always found it weird how there's always a good amount of like offensive output on literally the only day of the year where you see 30 aces through.
Right.
And there's always good offensive output on those days. It's
crazy.
Really, it's a crazy.
And usually in like most of the places are played in cold weather. So like it's weird that. But
somehow days like that.
Amped up, juiced up, ready to go, right? And that's that's a perfect lead into last night, right? Obviously, Paul Skeens has been unbelievable. He has been electric on the mound. He has been, now he's being talked about as one of the best pitchers ever come through college baseball. Like that's being said by not just LSU fans, but by everybody, right? People
Meanwhile, they're probably about a good. Everyone's comment of this coming now is probably about a good let's say 3 weeks of us sitting here saying, when does the Strasburg conversation start?
Yeah, now I think people are saying he's better.
I think people are saying it too, but it's weird to me how long this is kind of taking. I'm like, bro, this is real.
And we've got the up close and personal look at it more than most people, right? Because we're here, we see him all the time. He's in Baton Rouge. But what he did last night and what that game did, what that game was about, and what it turned into was everything that we checked off before the game or before the weekend. Man, it's going to be pretty chippy and edgy. Tennessee's going to have, they're going to chirp a little bit, and Vitello's going to kind of show what he likes to do, right? And he's going to do these types of things. I hope LSU doesn't really get back into the drawing. The pitchers are going to be elite. It's going to be a low-scoring game. There's going to have to be, a big moment needs to happen. There's going to be a few opportunities, but when that opportunity happens, you got to come through. Can't make errors. All of these things that we talked about, you saw it in full force. And we've talked a lot about Alex Buck Stadium and a lot about what we would like to see in the energy and kind of losing it. Tell you what, there was no energy lost last night. Largest crowd in the history of Alex Buck Stadium, which will probably be broken at some point again this year. But it was loud. It was electric. Now, I'm not saying throw things on the field.
Oh, I love the energy.
I love the energy. I like the beer showers, and I was okay with it. Now, after you clean it up, let's not do it again. Because,
let's just channel it a little bit. We don't need the delay in the game. That's
right. But the energy and what you saw and the reaction, no doubt. And the reaction was energy. Awesome. Like, it was loud. It was, I felt like I was in a football game. Like, that type of energy that I was giving out is like, damn, this is football vibes. This is, because football I can get a little bit more fanny because I didn't play it, right? Baseball, I feel like since I was on the field, it's a little harder for me to but last night I felt good about it. I felt good, and it was just
last night I felt like I watched as close to as you can get a playoff feel as possible. In a sense of like, the only thing really missing that was not playoff feel-ish was, I feel like in a playoff situation, people literally live and die on each and every pitch,
right?
Each and every third out. No. Each and every third out of the inning. Like, inning's about to be over. Chris is up. The entire crowd is clapping. Every inning.
Yeah.
And it's like loud. That's the playoff feel. I think you got literally everything except for that last
right.
night.
And so here's, and we'll go through. You got that after the fifth.
You did,
Yeah.
but my point is in the playoffs is it's opening pitch.
Yeah, right. And so you watched the first inning, right? And you saw how electric. Obviously, Paul Skeens was 100 to 102 again in the first inning, right? He was electric.
He threw one at 99.
Okay, 0.77 or something. But he went out, dominates that first inning, right? And you're like, first guy, here's a fastball, here's a fastball, here's a fastball. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Go sit down. This is what you're going to get all day, right? So you see that. He comes through it. Next guy, he gets out the inning. Then LSU comes in. Gavin Dugas, first pitch, double in the left center field gap. 97, turns it around. Here we go, right? Next guy, Trey Morgan walks. So now you got first and second, no outs. Dylan Cruz, the guy. Let's see, this is it. This is what everybody wants to see. Chase Dolander versus Dylan Cruz, potential number one picks, going at each other. What does he got? Dylan Cruz hits an absolute laser beam to right center. I thought it's a double. He kind of tails a little bit right to the right fielder. I'm willing to bet that ball said probably 110 off the bat. Like, it was hammered out. All right, people were upset because
he didn't advance the run.
Gavin Dugas didn't tag.
Yeah.
Right. I understand that frustration.
No,
because
it's not. Well, not frustrating. How about you just really break down the actual baseball play?
Okay.
Like exactly what are the rules and how are you supposed to advance?
So the rule is you don't want to the cardinal rule in base running, you don't make the first or third out at third base. Fine, right? If you're on second base and the catch makes one out, that is the opportunity to take a chance
to tag.
To tag, usually.
Makes sense to tag.
Right. It makes sense to tag, right? The only time you tag when the out makes two out, when the catch makes two outs, is if you 100% know you're going to get to third base because you don't want to make the third out at third, right? So what happened in this first inning, and I believe Gavin Dugas played it right.
Yeah.
Right? He's taking his lead. There's no outs, right? You're already in scoring position. You have their ace on the ropes in the first inning right now, putting pressure on him. Gavin Dugas takes his secondary. This ball is crushed. Instead of taking off and running, thinking, oh, this ball's automatically in the gap, I'm going to sit here halfway and I'm going to watch. And as the trajectory of this ball,
just so because we can talk through this whole thing. First off, if that ball's hit towards the right center gap and you are immediately taking off at second, it's a bad read. Reason why is because if you don't know for sure that it is 1,000% hit in the ground,
shortest throw ever,
you're scoring anyway.
Right.
If it's so, you might as well see it down, right? In that sense. So there's no reason for off the bat towards right center for me to take off because if it does hit the ground, I'm scoring anyway, right? So you might as well see what we got. So go back to it.
So he sees it, right? This ball gets hit in the gap, hits it extremely hard. Hey, I'm just gonna sit here and chill. If this ball lands and I'm scoring, right? Obviously, I'm gonna get there. It's easy. Now, if it doesn't land and he catches it, or what happens if you think it's gonna land and you take off and all of a sudden this guy lays out and catches it? Now you've run yourself out of the inning, double play, right? So he sits there, he reads it, he sees the trajectory of the ball. He's like, damn, this ball could get in the gap, but I'm not gonna take off. I'm gonna wait. This guy, once he realizes this guy is going to catch the baseball in the gap, not by the wall, in the gap. It was hit too low for it to carry to the fence.
So not by the wall, in the gap, which means the outfielder took a route that said he went straight across. He didn't run away from you in any way.
Right. You don't see his numbers. You're still seeing him. He's looking at you, so he's able to catch it and throw it.
And if you were seeing his numbers as a base runner,
then you start creeping back to second.
You start creeping back, right? You start creeping back like, all right, I can tag and go.
Right.
There you go.
But you don't see his numbers. So he's running.
Straight across.
He catches it, right? Now, by the time he catches it and the way the ball was hit, it is impossible for Gavin to get back to second and tag to go to third base, right? That's just it's too much of a risk. At this point, he's going to catch it. Now you don't want to risk getting thrown out at third. You're already in scoring position, so he stayed put. People are like, I should have tagged.
Yeah,
like, no.
I don't think so. I would think really high level, truthfully, guys that can really run are the ones that you may be way closer. You'd be okay with them being closer to the bag. You'd be okay with them trying to tag and go on that same play. If you're an average runner, that is a really, really, really hard ball to tag on.
No doubt, right? And so like he catches it.
It's like, that's not his risk to take.
Right, and here's the deal though. Here's the deal. As an outfielder, you want to be moving towards the infield. You don't want to be on your heels. Well, because this guy did not go backwards and because he went side to side, he's going to catch this ball here and literally can catch it and throw, and he's got all of his momentum going forward this way, right?
So and you also got to think where he caught the ball at. If I had to remember, if I'm standing straight at third, looking straight at second base, obviously looking through second base to the outfield, I'm pretty sure he was still on this side of the bag, meaning him going, catching, putting the brakes on and making the throw. It's not like he's throwing across his body to third.
Right.
He's almost throwing right into the baseline.
Yeah,
that's not a hard throw. That's not that hard of a throw.
And he's going to be able to get some stuff on it,
exactly.
Right? So he doesn't tag. Fine, right? The next guy.
It's the first inning.
It's the first inning for sure. Like, you don't want to run yourself out of innings. The next guy.
Especially after
honestly, no. Here's the thing. Honestly, I would rather see you try it if you thought you really had a chance in the first than risk it in the eighth. So, either way, I'm not mad. Like, I would rather see you do it than if you have a chance. But I don't think he had a chance.
But it was a smart move for him not to go.
Very smart, yeah.
So then I think the next guy flies out. Was it Tommy White? Hits another fly ball.
Fly ball deep into the gap again.
Deep into the gap, and he doesn't tag again. At that point.
Well, the 1-out rule is, if you know it, the 1-out rule is you are there to score, not to tag. Because if I tag and go to third, the guy at the plate still has to get a hit.
Yeah.
2 outs.
It's 2 outs.
Right.
Like, so him putting the ball in play really doesn't do anything.
Right.
All it really does is get me there to third if and only if there's a pass ball.
Yeah.
But the fly ball wasn't that deep. You didn't get the outfielder's numbers. He was camped under it. There is no reason you should be tagging. What you should be doing until you see his feet stop and he's camped is getting more towards third as much as you can, realizing that, hey, if he catches it, I know I can get back and still be safe, right? Because if he somehow drops it, now you can score.
Yep.
As opposed to you going back to tag and now you're just at third.
Right.
You have no business being on second right there because it's 1 out. So there was no reason for him to be trying to tag, really.
Right.
With the 1-out fly ball.
Right. And so you get through that, right? And like that's part of the baseball. This is us being able to explain to you.
But we heard the grumblings from people around saying like
tag was like tag,
there
tag,
was
score.
There was 2 not really tag situations.
Yeah, right. Now if he got the third the first time, obviously the second one he got tag. But that's just the way base. First inning, get through it.
Well, before we go, just to play why the fans think that, I think because of the gravity of the game. I feel like they felt like runs were at a premium because
you can't play the game that way.
That's what we're watching.
And I understand the fans thinking that, but let's go ahead and flip it right back for 6-7 days ago when you saw them run themselves out of 2 innings. Had he tagged late and tried to go, what would be the repercussions then?
Exactly.
What would be the mindset and the thought process and the feedback coming back at it then?
Right. And
he played it right.
You can't play the game because knowing, the runs are going to be at a premium. No. You can't
play the game the right way.
Yeah, you got to play the game the right way, right? So that happens. Chase Dolander does what he does. He's a top tier pitcher. He gets out the inning, right? Gets out of all that stuff. Then you go to the second, and then both pitchers start to settle in a little bit, right? And so you're talking about, we're not living on every pitch, every third out, all this stuff. And since they started to kind of settle in, I think they had both given up 1 hit through 4 or 5 innings.
4. I think for sure through 4 it was 1 hit apiece.
Yeah, and so you kind of felt like the crowd settled in too, right? Like everybody started not chilling out, but just watching the game. There really wasn't anything one way or the other. There wasn't a lot of momentum going either way. And then all of a sudden, Tennessee scores a run. They get a base hit. They get
a fluky base hit.
They get a fluky base hit.
And fluky in the sense of, I 1,000% believe that high chopper up the middle is 100% an error. It's a tough error to have. I understand. It sucks if you're the guy that's getting that error called on him, but it is one, right?
And I'm not a shortstop. You won't, but
I'm not. But I've seen that.
Played it in junior high.
When you see it play it at a super, super, super high level, that play's made, and it becomes when you actually do field it, it looks routine after that. Yeah. Right, but the hard part is actually picking the right bounce and actually getting it.
I'm glad you said the right bounce, because on those high choppers over the mound, right? And I knew what Jordan Thompson was trying to do. He knew his runner. He knew he had time.
Yeah.
So he waited for that extra long bounce.
Yeah.
And he
right?
trusts his arm.
And he trusts. That's fine.
And that's fine.
Right?
All of those are fine.
You can trust your arm. That's everything. But what happened was he got that bounce and it
Ate
got
him
up a little bit, right? And so then he knew like, oh, this is not the way it was supposed to bounce, or it kind of got up a little on me. So then I got handcuffed and they gave him an infield single. I believe it should have been an error. Now, flip it around. If he could do it all over again, I think he would have read the high bounce. He would have charged in it and he would have picked.
I just think as you keep growing and you keep getting older, especially when you have a good arm and you trust your arm, it's just better to get the ball in your glove quicker than not.
Right. And
not be in a rush, but hey, if I can get this thing here, now I can take my time and make this throw.
Right.
Knowing
and the short hops, like a short hop,
there's
is
less
lot
of a hop.
easier to handle than one of those in between hops or a big, long, like weird hop.
Well, I think he was hoping for a candy, like a little Sunday hop where it goes.
No,
it wasn't
you don't
super
think
bad,
that's
but-
probably right, but you just can't bank
You
on
can't,
those.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. And then, so especially when you read it with like if there's top spin on it, you don't know what
And,
it's going to do.
and
It's
there's
probably
a
gonna
difference
vary.
too when you're already on the move as to when the ball's hit right at you and you have to basically be flat-footed to make the play.
And that's why I say
When you're on the move,
He threw
it's
like a
you're
quarterback.
better off going to get it instead
Right.
of waiting on it and waiting to thinking you're going to get a candy hop. That's when
Right.
you end up getting handcuffed.
Right. So that happens. Right. We talked about the little things, right? That's one of those little things. And I bet you if you talk to him, you say, yeah, I probably should have gone and get it, whatever. So they gave him a hit. Should have been an error. But they gave him a hit. The next guy gets a base hit, goes first or third. The next guy gets a base hit, they score a run. Okay, you have to score a run to win. This is the
Right.
fifth, top five, right? You have to score to win the game. Well, we get out of the inning, and we go in, and we've talked about this. I talked about this a lot last year.
a lot.
Like talked about, hey, this is what makes really good teams really good, and this is what make what teams that you think are supposed to be good just okay. And that's the response innings, and that's shutdown innings, right? So Tennessee goes and they have the first blow, right? They get the one run off our ace. It's an earned run. I think it should have been an unearned run, but it's an earned run. They get this run. Okay, now it's your time. What are you gonna do to respond, right? Because if you go out there and you get 3 up, 3 down, this Chase Dillander's balling out, and he's gonna get more confidence. And okay, now we're in some trouble. So what happens? You get was it Brady Neal?
No, you get
Who
Jordan
walked?
Thompson led off the inning with the double. Then you have
Oh
Brady.
yeah, down the line.
Then you have Brady come up with the man on second and nobody
Struck
out.
out.
And we had a
Right.
strikeout.
And so Thompson, who made that double down the line. So that's another thing I want to talk about Thompson, because Thompson had a lot of response by himself,
Yeah.
which is great after situations happen. So double down the line, starts the inning off with a double.
Kind of
Okay.
easy to almost call it the Jordan Thompson game, huh?
I was about to
Absolutely.
say, he got the game ball.
He did.
Absolutely,
Coach.
right?
Yeah.
So then you go to that. So now he's on second base, and here's what and we talked about this a little bit in the stands. Brady Neal, and I'm not second guessing or questioning anything that Jay did, because I think Jay's doing a great job.
No, he's doing a great job. There's always retrospect. There's always
Easy to do what we're
hindsight.
doing.
That's always easy. But we can just say what we were saying in the stand before this even played out. The at bat even played out.
So I was talking. I was like, okay, I don't like. I'm not a big proponent of bunting. I don't like it. Like, especially because people think that it's a lot easier than it is. Especially with a guy who's got electric stuff that's throwing upper 90s. Like, that's a harder bunt to happen, right? Especially if you're to righty lefty. I was like, okay, there's a guy on second. There's a lefty up to bat. All we need to do is a ground ball to the second baseman or first baseman, and the guy gets over. And now you got a productive out, and you go back to the dugout. You don't get a hit, but you guys in scoring position. I mean, you guys in at third base with less than 2. So I was saying, okay, just get the ball on the ground, and get the guy over. Well, I think he takes the first pitch, and then he kind of chases a little bit out the zone, and the third one was a little higher, right? And so he doesn't get it done. Now, give me your take on that.
So my take on it was this: when we've talked about Brady in the past this season already, what is the one thing we all said? All three of us said we would have liked to have seen him, or like to see him start doing more with runners in scoring position.
Be more aggressive.
Be more aggressive.
Right.
So, especially since Jay likes the timeout, right? Double happens, I would have called Brady over, and I would have said, hey, you got 1 strike. I need you to swing the bat, because if you don't, you're bunting until you get to 2. So I would have told him, you got 1 strike, that's yours, swing the bat, right? That, in my mind, I feel like you're telling him, be aggressive right there. All right, whether you're aggressive and whatever happens, you'd say you get that strike. Now, I don't want to sit here and watch you maybe possibly take the second strike as well. So I'm going to try to force some action, because the ball needs to be put in play.
Right.
And I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was any conversation. And I'm not saying there's bad management. It just is what it is, right? We all know the job. Pretty much anyone who knows baseball knows the job is that runner needs to be a third, right? So with that being said, we get the 2 strikes in there. Now we're sitting here 0-2 and we swing at the pitch up. Well,
and listen,
we didn't get the job done.
I've done it. You've done it.
Oh, I've done it a million times.
I mean, I'm not saying
again.
I'm not saying that. Oh, he like no. It happens.
That is how hard baseball is, right? Because it's easy from the other side to say, oh, you should have done this. Yeah, you 100% right. It's not that easy all the time.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, right? Like you know what you're supposed to do. He knew he's trying to do it. It doesn't come through. It happens. Whatever, right? So now you move on.
Because what does happen in those situations too, as a hitter, you sometimes try to get too fine.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You sometimes try to
lock yourself up.
You lock yourself up. You try to think you're going to get one thing and you're only going to get one thing, and you don't allow yourself to kind of be
free,
an athlete.
Right.
And you kind of get yourself in trouble in those situations.
Absolutely, right? And so he's going to be better for it. He's going to get in that situation.
He's going to grow. He's going to be better at it. But guess what? He's also going to do that a lot more times if he keeps picking up the bat.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of the game.
Right.
Like, it just is what it is.
Absolutely. That's just part of it, right? So then that happens. But a sign of good teams is someone who comes up behind you and picks you up, right? So then you get Gavin Dugas comes back on the plate. He's already 1 for 1 with the double, right? And he walked. So 1 for 1 with a double with a walk. So he's going on base twice, off of their ace, off of a top 5 pick. He comes in there, and he's got the opportunity to respond. Base hit is all you need to be able to get this guy in. So he sits there, first pitch slider, I think, and he kind of like checks, huh? Yeah. And he kind of like doesn't have it's a slider away, swings through it, strike 1. Then Chase DeLander, who throws 97, 98 miles an hour, tries to come in with a heater, and Gavin Dugas gets the head of the bat to the ball, keeps it inside, stays inside of this baseball, drives the ball down the third base line
with no hook.
Little cut finish.
With no hook. He finished his swing.
The swing is finished. You just got to understand there's not much you need to be doing back here.
Right.
He got the extension inside of it and threw it and finished his direction going towards the plate and let the bat angle actually work, and that's how the ball goes to left field.
And the guy came in. Listen, I didn't watch it. I was there in person, so I didn't watch it on TV. And Big Ben McDonald I love Ben a lot, and he's very knowledgeable. He's obviously played in the big leagues for a long time, was number 1 overall pick. He says, and I don't think he meant it this way, but he says, Gavin Dugas cheated to this fastball and got to it. I don't believe he cheated to it.
I don't believe he cheated at all.
I don't believe, because I believe he was looking for fastball.
Yeah.
But if you cheat to a fastball, especially inside, if you're cheating to that fastball inside, you're hooking that ball foul. Right? And so he keeps that ball fair. 2-run homer after they scored an inning. A run the top of the inning. So the whole point of this conversation is response innings. What did they do? They responded. You get a run. Okay, now we got 2. So now the crowd's back into it. From the 5th inning on to the 9th inning on, it's a whole different game. Mm-hmm. 1st through 5, you're trying to get a feel for each other. It's like a boxing. First couple rounds, you're trying to see how their strategy, what they're going to try to do, kind of jab, jab, jab. Okay, now you're going to go. It's make or break time. 5th inning, boom. Okay, here's our first big blow. All right, boom. Here's our uppercut. All right, both are staggered. Both figured themselves out. 2-1. Okay, now you're talking. You're trying to figure this thing out. From the 5th inning to the 9th inning is, all right, it's go time, right? So 2-1, response inning. We get out the inning. You feel like, things are gone. Paul Skeens is cruising. Me and Jay were talking about, I think in the 4th inning, he had about a 2-1 strike to ball ratio, right?
Which is really good.
Which is very good. But earlier in the year, Paul Skeens had, or not earlier, all other starts, he was having like a 3-1, right? He wasn't throwing any balls.
Squeezing him.
Look, the umpire was tight for both sides.
He really was. I didn't really see. I didn't feel like it was unfair either.
No, and look, where I'm at the angle that I was at, it was hard. I'm not right behind the plate, so I can't see in and out, up and down where I was at.
I honestly do feel at one point in the game, obviously after Vitello,
and we're gonna get there. Right there.
I do feel that at one point of the game, or the pitching coach came out after the Gavin homer, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Exactly after the Gavin homer.
Because Gavin, he threw a slider, and then Gavin took the little slider cutter thing inside that he thought was a strike.
Yeah.
He called it a ball, and then he went in with the fastball and hit the homer.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. So if you don't know the little nuances of baseball, which is pretty funny to me actually, Gavin hits the homer, and I'm talking Gavin is crossing the plate, and the only goal that pitching coach had of that entire mound visit was to wear the umpire out. There wasn't really much else that he had to do. He probably didn't say much to Dollander at all on the mound. He wore him out the entire time walking to the mound and the entire time walking back. Now, I do think right after that, he called a slider that backed up high and in on, who was it right after Gavin? Or
Trey.
Dylan. Trey had the at bat, but I think it was on Dylan. It was a slider that backed up high and in, and then a heater after it down and away. And I'm like, boy,
I remember that.
I go, we can't have this one and this one. That's just not really going to be a thing when you haven't been doing that.
Right.
So that is probably the only at bat that I really felt like,
Umpire
all right,
got
he got rattled, he got influenced a little bit, but for the most part of the game, I thought he was pretty tight on both sides.
Yeah, right. And so that happens. So then you get out the inning. Now we're up 2-1. Now Skeens is doing what he's been doing. Now he's throwing strikes. He's coming to get them. He's not getting behind in counts. Now when you look at the end of the game, he ended up throwing 7 innings, 12 strikeouts, and from the end of the fourth, from the 5th, 6th, and 7th, he probably threw 10
If I
balls.
remember correctly, I think where he ended, it was somewhere around like 77 strikes and like 33 or like 34 balls.
Right.
That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And before, he I don't want to say settled in because he pitched well all game, but he finally said, okay, I'm going to dictate the counts. I'm not going to get behind it. They're grinding. We're getting through it. So anyway, gets through the 7th, right? Nothing really happens in between the two, like those 3 innings when it's 2-1, but you can feel it, right? Now every pitch, every at-bat, every out matters because of the game and you knowing that, damn, we don't want to lose this game that Paul is pitching again like we did against was it last week?
Arkansas.
Against Arkansas.
Well, he got no decision.
Well, here's the thing.
That's what I mean. But you lost the game that you started.
No, he doesn't get the win.
No, just they lost the game.
They lost the game.
And here's when you know, like if you didn't believe it just by looking at the box score, if you didn't believe it by, I don't know, pre-conference schedule, if you didn't believe in what you saw from the lineup early in the year, when you know you have a real chance is when you have a real ace, right?
Right.
And so when the other guy on the other team who's supposed to be a real ace, who's supposed to be a top 5 pick, who's having a much better than average year, not where he had last year, but you can still see the stuff is there, and that guy goes out and he gives them 4 2/3, 4-hit ball. What is it? He gave up 2 runs on a Friday night, and the entire bullpen's fresh, and then your guy on your side goes out there and gives you 7 with 5 hits and 1 run and 12 punchies. That's when you know you got a chance.
Yeah.
That's when you know, hey, all right, look, we at least every series we're in, we're probably going to get 1. You only got to get 1 more.
Right.
Meaning wins.
No doubt.
You're probably going to get 1. You only got to get 1 more if you do what you're supposed to do.
You have to get 1.
No
is
doubt.
what you're thinking, right?
Right. And so he comes in there, right? He does what he does, gets out of the inning. Now you take him out and you put in Ackenhauser.
Ruben Gardner.
I think it's in.
Ackenhausen. You put in Ackenhausen, who he didn't pitch last week. He had some arm
too.
issues. He came out with a hammy. It was unrelated to the arm, obviously. It was a whole different injury. So he comes out. He's throwing. Milazzo and him didn't seem like they're on the same page. Milazzo is a little jumpy. We're going to get into that conversation a little bit. So Ackenhausen comes out. Now there's runners on first and third with 2 outs and a 3-2 count. And he comes out like, oh, I got a little hammy deal. He comes out. You bring in.
Didn't
Garrett
want to
Edwards.
come out, by the way.
No, it didn't, of course. But hey,
No,
this is the situation.
Jade's quoted as saying like,
Right, of course.
Yeah.
But
So
he made the
It wasn't
decision.
one of the things where Ackenhausen was like,
right.
oh,
Right.
loser limp.
Right.
It was like, are you?
Yeah, he
Bleeping
didn't feel
kidding
good.
me?
We need you later on. We're gonna figure this out. Garrett Edwards comes in. Guy comes
Terrible
in.
spot.
Yeah, bad spot. First pitch, guy hit the base hit. Now they're up. Now they've tied the game 2-2. And I'm like, okay, now we go because after Dollander they bring in Seth Holverson, and Seth Holverson is very elite pitcher. I mean, he's upper 90s as well. Like he is explosive, elite. His ERA is sub-2. So he comes in. So now that LSU, you have a work cut out for you. I believe that was in the 7th inning.
When Hoverson came in?
Yeah, whenever they scored that run.
They didn't. No, it was in the top of the 8th.
8th. Even better. Perfect. Response innings, right? They come in the top of the 8th. They score a run. Now they're tied 2-2. What are you going to do? You have your best guy in. Outside of Dollander, your best guy that you have the most confidence in the back end of the bullpen, which you're not supposed to hit. Right? The game, the magnitude, and this is where we talked about magic of Alex Buck Stadium.
Exactly, and they followed the Arkansas formula, where we're throwing our 2 best at
No
you
doubt.
to get game 1.
Of course, right? They need to get through because they got the guys behind them are really good. So you bring in your guy. It's 2-2. This is the moment. All of a sudden, the energy level starts to rise. The
bunkies
pressure,
get tight.
the butthole goes from here to there. Like it starts getting tight, right? Baseball's a game of inches. Baseball is games of this magnitude are all about the breaks and what do you do with the breaks. All right,
And sometimes they run in your favor.
and sometimes they run in your favor.
Break down the play.
And so what happened here was you had Cade Beloso, who's been swinging a hot bat,
Speedster.
hits a chopper to the first baseman. He does similar to what happened at short earlier in the game. Now it's a little bit of a crazier hop, but he gets handcuffed. He fumbles it. Oh, we still have time. I'm going to flip it. Pitcher jabs at it, drops it. Error. Boom. Okay. I got a guy on first
And look,
base.
I'm going to give this to pitchers. It really, really, I understand it. For guys that are not used to making catches on the run, now you're asking them to make the catch on the run and basically simultaneously step
Find the
on the bag.
It's tough.
It's tough, dude.
It's
It
tough.
really is.
It's
It
tough.
it's really and as a when you're making this play as a righty and you get there and you kind of got to make the whole turn and do the thing, it's a tough play to make.
I mean,
it
Mikey
really
knows
is.
better than anybody as a former first baseman.
Yeah, not good. I've never been that where I had to flip it to the pitcher though. Never been in that situation. So
Didn't last that long.
no, never got that one. So he gets on first base. Okay, this is what we need. Here's a little bit of a break. What's gonna happen? Next guy, Paxton Kling.
Speed.
He can run. Paxton hits one of those high choppers over the mound. Second baseman, Moore. What's his first? Is it Christian Moore?
Christian Moore,
Christian
I think.
Moore plays it perfect. Which, by the way, I was very impressed by him. I think he's a very good player.
I
Great
personally
glove, made
think
some really
he's
good
their
plays.
best overall offensive player.
Yeah, and defensively, like his hands were good, made some plays.
I do.
He goes up and gets it, right? And we talked about this last night, and it's just sometimes you get a situation where it just works out. You have the right people at the right situation at the right time. You're like, wow, right? Cade Beloso gets lucky to get on base, right? Error, worked out. We need that. Happens in baseball. Next one, the high chopper to the second baseman. He comes in. He does everything right. Fields it. Oh, we have a guy running in my base path. I'm going to go and try to tag him. I don't get him. I'm going to throw the guy out at first base. Paxton Kling can fly. Didn't hit it very hard. Beat it out, right? Here's where I think the baseball gods were in favor of LSU. If it's me running, if it's Jared running, if it's Dylan Cruz running,
If it's Lloyd.
if it's
Hell-
Lloyd, if it's
Hell,
anybody on
I'm
the
gonna be
team,
honest
let them
with you,
run.
and I'm not obviously not saying he's slow, but like I think if Jordan Thompson's running,
no, no.
he doesn't even think about trying to tag. If you go watch, I didn't say this to y'all, but if you go back and literally just watch that play, the guy kind of has like some Robinson Cano like look at him.
Yeah.
Like it was very easy pick, very quick decision on can't tag him.
And
All right,
try.
get it out and throw it, and the ball's still beat out. But my point is if you got a faster runner. He's probably by him already. He never reaches out to
Doesn't
tag.
even think-
He
no
makes a throw and
hesitations
he
out.
beats Kling by half a step at
Right.
first, making the play.
Right. And if it's somebody who is not super fast and is but faster than Beloso, he gets tagged and it's over, right? Beloso,
Cruise control.
for the best way, lack of better terms, was slow enough to where it worked out.
Weird thing is too. I do think a lot of times guys that are slower, when plays like this happen, like off the bat, and it's not even some like a lazy field. It's just they've done this so many times where they are either a non-factor or they have absolutely no shot at making a play that in the back of their mind subconsciously that play happens and you just don't get 110% effort because they know they have no chance.
Right.
And so like I feel like that kind of happened a little bit, so you don't get great jumps. You don't get a crazy good secondary, like
Right.
a jump off the secondary.
Right.
And then next thing you know, you're like really almost in the way or like not in the play some way.
And here's the other thing, right? So he reaches out and doesn't tag him, and Kay kind of gives him like a little Olay, but he can't reach him. People are like, oh, he ran out what happens about running out the baseline?
He didn't run off the baseline.
Well, here's my point. He didn't run out the baseline because the ball was hit too slow. He had to come and get it. So the second baseman was already moving the other way.
Yeah.
And so he had to be right next to him for him to tag it. So he doesn't miss it. He doesn't tag him. Boom. He doesn't get the guy off first base. No hiccups in the play. Just so happened to be the right two people at the right time. Boom. Okay, now runners on first and second. I believe there's 2 outs, right?
2. Yes.
2 outs.
And this is where
All of this happened with 2 outs.
this is where the box magic really got things.
Yes. So this guy, like I said, he has a sub
Grease
2
BB.
sub-2 ERA.
No chance.
Elite. His best pitch is his fastball, right? I'm gonna throw it upper 90s. I'm gonna locate it. I'm gonna have some.
Well,
have some
this
juice
is
behind
before
it.
you got that because you remember he just got real choky.
No. I was getting there.
Oh, you're getting there.
I'm getting there. So he gets there, and so his best pitch is his fastball. I'm gonna come and get you with it. All right. We have Pearson up. Yes.
Yeah.
We have Pearson up. Pearson is at the box. He's ready to go. This guy says, "I'm gonna get in there with this fastball. Well, I'm gonna choke it just a little bit. I'm gonna hold on to it a little too long." It was he held on to it and he yanked it so much that me and Jared thought it was a breaking ball until we looked at the video.
He yanked it so much. Well, until I saw the video today.
Yeah.
He yanked it so much that I didn't even think to look up at the scoreboard to see the velo on
Right.
it because I was like, that 1,000% had to be a slider.
Right, but it wasn't. It was his
not.
fastball, and he yanked it and he hit Pearson in the back calf.
The back of his calf.
Damn. All right. We got a shot here. Bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the 8th, after they scored a run. Again, going back to response innings. Back to that, you say, okay, here we go. JT, it's a JT game. He had, made that whatever, had the double, started that rally. It's his opportunity. First pitch slider, swings through the slider. Not a great swing, not a great pitch to hit, swings through it. Okay, what are you going to do? Here's the fastball. Come and get it. I'm going to drive it to right center field. Perfect approach. Clear the bases. Get on second. Crowd goes nuts. Outfield throws the beers out into the outfield. Everybody, you could see how juiced he was at second base. And then when he came back in, how juiced he still is. I was juiced, so I can imagine how he feels. I was telling, who was I telling? I was telling BG in the car. I was like, if I hit that double in that situation, I'm sliding head first into second base for no reason. I'm banging on the bag, and I'm getting, because that is a absolute iconic moment for him. Response inning does it. Now we got a 3-run lead going into the 9th with your new closer on the mound. What's going to happen? You have something to say?
Yeah, like before we even get back to like that last inning, just to kind of like break down that bat, I get so, especially like when you watch it like on defense, like if you're on the defensive side of that and you see it happen, it is the most frustrating thing ever in a sense of I'm in the outfield and I see a pitcher throw a pitch and the guy swings and misses and he misses terribly. And it's not a good swing. Or you throw him a fastball and he's 8 years behind it. And for some reason, there's so many times pitchers or pitching coaches or catchers, whoever it is, sit there and think like, oh, now let's trick him. You ain't tricking shit.
No.
As a hitter, if I'm showing you I'm not on it and I ain't seeing it, your best bet is to probably believe it.
Yep.
Most likely.
No doubt.
If you can execute it that way again.
Right.
Right? So like you didn't hang it, you didn't just throw it and get me over. You threw one, you kind of buried it, whether you threw it that way, whether you meant to throw it that way or not. If you can execute that again, that's what you need to be doing again.
Right.
Not, oh, I got you to swing at that. Now let me go at you so I can really get ahead.
Right.
That's how you get yourself in trouble.
Absolutely. And now you have base loaded 2 outs. It's a tie game. Maybe he doesn't want to spin the slider because maybe he gets away from the catcher. They have that to think about too, right? But what happened was Jordan Thompson goes out there, and I like the fact that he came out swinging, even though it wasn't a great pitch to swing at. Even though
Well, you know he's got to come at you. You know he's supposed to be trying to come at you.
Right. And so he goes over there and he swings through the slider. Mm-hmm. All right, not great. Let me get locked back in. Let me mentally figure out. Okay, let me settle myself. This is my approach. What's my approach? I'm trying to drive this fastball to right center field. I got to stay on the fastball. I'm going to drive it to right center field. Look in whatever area in the zone you're looking for, and that's what I'm going to do.
Gavin
Let me get back in the plate in the box. And I'm still going to be aggressive, but I'm not going to cheat, and I'm not going to try to yank everything. I just need to get a single.
Yep.
So what happens? The next pitch is 97, middle end. He missed his spot. He wasn't trying to throw it right over the middle of the plate. Mm-hmm. And Jordan Thompson stays within his approach, drives the ball, low liner, over second base, in the gap, clears the bases, and wins the game. And to me, that's a sign of growth. That's a sign of experience and being in a situation similar to that. And that's a sign of not allowing the moment to overcome.
That's a sign, too. Like, if you're sitting in the stands as a scout, you literally mark that as a huge plus, because we're sitting here saying like, I got you to be fooled and look silly on a slider. As a hitter, you have to make an adjustment to be able to be in college and make an adjustment pitch by pitch. Making adjustments pitch by pitch is what the greats do.
Yep.
right? Like not at bat by at bat or day by day, pitch by pitch. So him to be able to say I swung and I'm out in front of that slider, deeper, let it travel longer, use the entire field. The very next pitch, he gets a heater that he ain't trying to get out in front of.
By looking at the video, it wasn't right down the middle. It was kind of outer third. You know what I mean?
He ain't trying to get out in front of. It's like, hey, let me let this thing travel, make sure I know what I'm getting. Keep it short and sweet. 105 in the gap, double, base clearing double.
Wins the game,
you win
right?
You win a ball game.
So then you go into the bottom of the ninth. Now, 3 runs going into the bottom of the ninth. I mean, the top of the ninth is a lot better than 2 runs, obviously. And so you have Garrett Edwards coming back out. He finished the inning. Okay, now he's in line for the win because we have all the momentum. I talked about going out there and having response innings offensively, but you have to also have shutdown innings defensively and on the mound. So Garrett Edwards comes back out, and he says, okay, I'm feeling good. And look, Garrett Edwards, he comes at you. He throws strikes. He has a hard heater and a good break. And he has 3 pitches, but his fastball, slider, he has got it all. He's a guy that you want. So what happens is he comes out, and he gets the first guy, I believe, to strike out or fly, whatever. I forget how he gets the first guy out. So he's got 1 out. Next guy hits a ground ball to Jordan Thompson, who I'm sure is still amped up from the at-bat that he had in the bottom of the 8th. And again, Jordan, I think he lets that second hop get there, and so he kind of catches the ball on his heels a little bit and relying on his arm. He kind of doesn't get his footwork set up, and he kind of sails the ball. He makes an error, throwing error. Now, I think the guy doesn't get to second base, so it's okay, but I think that maybe Trey could have gotten off the bag. Again, the angle that we're at, they're on the field, they're a little bit different. They can see things a little different than us, but from where I was at, it looked like, oh, maybe instead of trying to, like, I see what he's trying to do. He's trying to get behind the bag, let the ball get deeper so he can get the guy out. Instead of going that, maybe go out and get the ball and try to, like, tag the guy running down the base. Regardless of what happened, however he's thinking, whatever he thought, throwing error. Now you got 1 out. Guy on first base, you're like, oh, you know what? It's okay. Guy's still in scoring position. I mean, double play. You can get out the inning. You're up by 3. You have a little whatever. You just need your guy to go out there and throw strikes. Next guy, 4-hopper through the 4-hole, gets to the outfield slow enough, goes first to third. Now you're like, okay, we got to figure some things out, right? Garrett Edwards then strikes the guy out. To make it 2 strikes, and you get Christian Moore, who the guy that we talked about, the guy we felt like he's been – I don't even think he got a hit last night, but he had really good at-bats the whole game. And so he comes up, and, you know, Garrett Edwards does what he does. I'm going to throw strikes. I'm going to make you beat me. I'm not going to allow you just to get on base and just to get behind the count. If you're going to beat me, you're going to have to go and hit the ball over the fence or in the gap or do whatever. And he throws it, and the guy hits the ball to center field right in front of the center field warning track. Boom, game over. Sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes you're not going to go out and strike everybody out. You need a good break. And to me, that's a shutdown inning. That's a mentally tough on the mound because now you're in a situation where you haven't been in. You have not been the closer at LSU. There hasn't been 13,000 people against Tennessee in a game that's been very highly touted on national TV, on ESPNU. Like, you haven't been there.
Well, he was in the 2021 series.
I know, but I'm talking about as the closer role.
Yeah, exactly.
As the closer role.
I think that's why it meant a little bit more to him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, of course, it meant a lot to him, but my point is, like, he hasn't ever been there. So he's never had the experience to fall back on in that situation. And so then your shortstop makes the error. You give up not really a great hit, but a true hit. It just found the hole. And now you're in a situation where the tying runs on the base, and you have every reason to say, okay, kind of get tight and kind of get, not really understand how to do this, and, it fall apart. But he doesn't. He continues to throw strikes and makes the guy beat him, and it doesn't work out for the guy, and he flies out, and the game's over. To me, that is important. That's what you want from your closer, and I'm excited to watch him be the closer.
I like him back there. People got to understand, man, like, that closing role is literally, we're asking you to go out and run the 2-minute drive at the end of the game and get in the end zone every time you're out, basically. Like, that's pretty much what you're doing, right? And so it just takes it's a different mentality. It is, I have to take the fight to you mentality. It is, I have to be very fine. I won't say fine. I have to be very assertive in what I'm doing as opposed to in terms of throwing strikes, right? Can't kind of nibble around it. Can't kind of feel around a zone and get you to chase
trust
all
your
day.
Stuff.
Trust it, and you have to go at people. And like I said, you're basically, I'm closing games, right? I'm closing the game. I'm doing the 2-minute drive every single time I grab the ball, basically. That takes a lot, man. Yeah. And it's a different mental mindset than just, hey, I throw 95, it's the 5th inning, watch, here it is. That's a different thing.
Absolutely. And so it's, we recapped the game and went through this whole thing because I wanted to talk the baseball side of it, right? Like you see what you see on the field, right? And you see the type of game it was, and you see how energetic it was, and you see all the big plays, but I wanted to just have a conversation about like what goes into it, right? How do you respond? Like, what do I see? What am I looking at when I'm watching this game, and what did I like? And what I liked was the ability for these guys in the biggest moment of the year so far to be able to respond to giving up a run with your ace on the mound, to go ahead and then now tie the game in the top of the 8th, and then go ahead and you have that big hit in the bottom of the 8th. And I just wanted to try to highlight how important the little things are in these big games. And, LSU, sometimes you get the break to go your way, sometimes you don't, right? You want to make every single play. It's just the reality of baseball is you're not going to, right? That's just it. You're gonna have to make a mistake. Who's going to make the least amount of mistakes, and who's going to take advantage of that mistake? And LSU was able to do that.
I would love to know. I don't know the answer to it, but I gotta imagine it's pretty good because I feel like they've played that way all year. Obviously, this is a higher leverage situation than they've pretty much had all year, but what they've done so far through the year with runners and scoring position has to be impressive.
Absolutely.
I feel like they're cashing in on so many of those opportunities, whether it's the sac fly, the big double, the homer, whatever it is. They are putting great at-bats together in those situations more times than not.
Absolutely.
I think that's a product of having that happen all of the time. There's always runners in scoring position because of how they're taking
No,
the bats.
you're not wrong, but those things can end up snowballing, right? Like if you start the year off bad with runners in scoring position,
start pressing.
It becomes the known bugaboo in the dugout where everyone knows we got the big leadoff double. Let's see if we'll score, and you end up not scoring. Now, when you start it off, it kind of snowballs the other way. Like, we got guys on. It's go time. We've been doing this.
Right.
And I think they've been riding that a good bit the whole year, and it's pretty impressive.
And before I jump to observations that I had, not on the field, but just of who was playing, what they did, what the coaching staffs were, whatever. You talk about I lost my train of thought. What I was going to say right there.
What I was going to bring up was when you talked about Edwards coming in the closer role and that mentality. A lot of people, what I go back to and what I think of is somebody that's a little bit nuts. I go to Zach Hess. That's what I think of when I think of a closer. I don't know. You have to almost put yourself in a certain mentality of, fuck you, it's me versus you every time, and I'm giving you everything I have.
Well, I guess the reason why I bring up the 2-minute drill, because think about the best quarterbacks running 2-minute drills. They all got killer mentalities.
Yeah.
They're all straight up killers.
Right.
In those situations is
Joe Burrow.
Bro, I know I'm
Exactly
throwing for
what I'm about
500
to
yards
do.
the whole game. This is what I came here
Right.
You're
for.
about to get diced.
I'm doing you in right here. I don't care what I've done the rest of the game. This is what I showed up for. And that's the mentality they have every time they touch the ball. It takes a different type of dude in a different type of situation to kind of basically live in that space. And that's what they have to do.
That's why I was bringing it up. I don't know if Garrett Edwards is there yet because they haven't had a defined closer. Zach Hess was defined early on in his career as you're the guy to come in and close the game, and he came in they started calling him Wild Thing. It was literally for Major League where it's he's coming in to shut the game down. You're getting a fucking psycho on the mound.
Right.
And it's at some point they're going to have to name a closer so you can adopt that mentality of.
No doubt, and I think they will.
I'll say this, and this is I feel like it's a huge compliment, but I'm also not trying to compare him. But I also, mannerisms wise, he reminds me of someone like this. You're speaking of a Zach Hess, and you're not wrong on anything that his demeanor reminded you of. Garrett Edwards kind of reminds me like a Mariano Rivera, where it's just very quiet. You know the stuff is good, and it's just that quiet, gentle killer. Absolutely. Where you just he comes out. Mariano used to come out, and it was fuck, man, what are you gonna do with this?
Yeah.
Well, that's because
and he's
everybody
just
knew.
nice as hell, and they knew.
Yeah, right.
And I feel like he's got that kind of demeanor. Now we'll see if he's able to deliver.
Right.
But his demeanor reminds me of that.
Absolutely. And we talk about Dougie Fresh is coming in around 12:15. So Doug Thompson's going to come in 12:15.
Ooh.
He's going to talk about what he saw. He called the game. He obviously was a pitcher here. He was a super successful pitcher here.
He's closed a game or two.
Understands
Maybe an
understands baseball, right? Understands what he saw. He's been here. So he called the game. We're going to talk about what he saw and then talk about kind of a preview of Game 2 that's going on tonight. But before we get there, a lot of issues that people talked about with this team was, oh, they strike out too much early in the year. Oh, they're striking out too much. They're doing this. They're doing that. Well, Chase Dollander is
a premier arm.
Outside of Paul Skeens, maybe the premier arm in college baseball right now. And Chase Dollander didn't get his first strikeout, I think until the third or fourth inning.
I think it was the fourth.
And I think he only had 3
Yeah.
for the game. So all those concerns, like, hey, let's hold up. Because I told you there's a few fluky games, but these guys, like, the strikeouts aren't a concern to me because, look, they're going to happen as part of the game. But you have to give these guys a little opportunity to kind of, like, settle in, and they have. Yeah. And they've put together some really good at-bats, especially last night. And they put themselves in a situation to win, and they won. And to me, that was the big story of the game. They were able to take advantage of the opportunities that were given to them.
I just when I think of their season on a whole so far, I just like some of the signs that you've seen. Like I like they go on the road and they play Iowa and they kind of get dominated by the arm, and then for the next 2 days they dominate. And then they go play a real road game at Texas after that, and nobody scores, and all of a sudden they break the game open in the ninth. And they win.
Who did that in the ninth?
Seems like a familiar face that keeps showing up in big spots, right?
In Texas.
That was the 11th. We're talking about I'm confused. I missed
Texas,
that.
Longhorns, Gavin. Seems like a familiar face keeps showing up.
Oh, yeah.
But my point is, okay, so they go and do that
The host of the
clutch.
show.
Hey, they go do that clutch opportunity there. They get Paul back on the mound last Friday. It's a great game. There's no scoring. They go into the ninth. I think it's 1-0 or 0-0. They score. We score. And then they break the game open. And they win. They lose an unfortunate one. And then for the next 2 days, they basically 10-run rule a top 5 team. Like you just like what you see.
Right.
When you look at what do good teams do? When they lose, they don't lose twice. When they're up, they usually close games and kill you.
Yeah.
Like that's what really good teams usually do, and that's what they seem to be doing so far.
I'm talking about liking what you see. I'll tell you what I didn't like. I've never watched him up close in a game. Right? I've never been on the other side of the field. I've never played against him.
Y'all would fist fight.
I've never been, and he may be a great guy off the field. People may like him, like as the whatever. But I've never actually watched them play LSU in person. Last night I got to watch Tennessee play LSU, and I got to watch Tony Vitello do what he does. Look, he recruits really well. He's brought in a ton of talent, and he's won a lot of games.
He can do it his way,
right? And that's what he wants to do, his way, all this stuff, right? That's his mentality. Players like him. People get mad because Tennessee has this demeanor about them, and they act a certain way. Well, you know why they act a certain way? Because the head man and Hefe, who's running the whole show, acts that way. He's jumping up and down out of the dugout. Listen, I'm as emotional as they get on the field, right? I don't hide my emotions. I wish I was able to hide them better. I'm very animated on certain things. Like I understand that part of the game, but I'm also not the head coach. I'm not the manager of the team. And I'm watching him, and he is hopping out of the dugout on missed calls, hopping out of the dugout when the umpire makes a bad call. He's running around, he's storming around like he's a player. So how can you expect your players and the guys that are following you to be
any different
than that?
So I'm so glad you went that direction with it, because I thought you was going to go more on the direction of like, I just don't like his antics. When I see him, it reminds me of when I think of like really good managers, a lot of them. And everybody's got a little bit of reaction to them, right? There's very few people that you just see stoic through the best and through the worst, right? But he is such a roller coaster that I'm like, for me, it feels like, how can you ask your players to calm the heart rate, to focus in on the actual task at hand, and to get the job done when you are that reactionary? There's no way they're not in a shape, form, or fashion, whether they're showing it as much as you are, but there's no way they're not, right? And so I think for me, when I watch them play, look, they were great last year. They had an unbelievable team. And then when they got faced with adversity, they packed up the bags and they went home. Right? And I think when shit gets to nut cutting time for them now, that's what you see from the manager is kind of what you're getting from them too, right? He just talked about they had their best arm out of the pen last night come in a big time spot, and he gave up 2 bullshit hits, and now all of a sudden we're choking our best pitch and we're hitting lefties on the back of their calf.
On the back leg.
Like, that sounds like a little choky to me, right? That's not stuff you usually see. And so for me, it feels like when shit gets to nut cutting time, that's when you see them go down because, well, we got somebody over here who's super reactionary.
It turns into almost like a spat versus like lifting your players up. And that's where I think you see where Jay was.
Here, you got to think of it this way. We just see the antics. We can't actually hear the shit that he's saying too. And I'm guaranteeing you, he is not directing it all at the other team and or at the umpires. When he sees stuff, I guarantee you, when he sees stuff, a guy strike out, a guy not move a runner, a guy not, I guarantee you he's saying stuff directed at those guys. There's just no way it isn't.
Right.
He's a former player.
And I'm not saying they hate the guy. I'm just saying that when you watch it, it's like, man, it's really hard to play when you know you got that just chirping that loudly that much.
And you're not. I'm not saying he's a bad coach either.
No, he's doing something right. Yeah.
I'm saying that if you want,
here's what I know.
A million different ways to skin a cat.
Here's what I know. Here's what I know he can do. Right? If you sit here and you're evaluating coaches, what I think he's really good at is evaluating talent, putting talent on the field, letting talent do what they do, and then I think when it gets very, very nut cutting time, I don't think he's very good at keeping his cool.
And that's the thing, right?
He can't keep himself in control.
Because in this game, in this day and age, in the SEC, when you have teams that are just as talented to you, or maybe a notch even below you, the gap's not wide enough for you to say, we're just going to go out there and we're going to steamroll everybody. I just can't do that. So what's going to separate you? I believe that sometimes, like, these things that he's doing, these antics, and the way that he's kind of conducting himself, and like that kind of negative energy and the stuff that brings, I think that's the separator, right? That's the reason why. Okay, why can't we win in Omaha? Why didn't we make it to Omaha last year? Well, because when stuff like that happens, we don't have a way to calm it down because I'm doing that.
It's a 1 game sample, but when you talk about mano y mano, talent against talent, great team against great team. That game went to the bottom of the 8th, 2-2, and it was a greatly played game.
Right, absolutely.
And all of a sudden, the wheels fell off.
Absolutely.
So like, to me, that goes back to the man that's running the show a lot.
Right.
And I'm sure it's won them a lot of games.
Sure.
like fire in the ass, like let's go get like
I'm sure
it's a midweek or like a game.
I'm so glad you said it that way. I'm sure it's won them a ton of games. But they're also not in 2-2 games in the 9th a lot. You know what I'm saying? They're also not down 4-1 in the 7th a lot, probably.
Right.
And that's where it gets tough at. If you can't keep your cool.
Right.
Show your ass. I mean, the man is one step away from taping up his wrist and putting a glove on.
For sure, and that's okay if you want to act, if you want to feel that way, but you have to learn how there's got to be a separator.
I hope you feel that way.
You already got the 3/4 sleeves on.
The best combination of coaches and managers that I've experienced in my life are the guys who you feel as a player have your back and is going to defend you, and they believe in you and they trust you and they're going to back you up, but also have that separator saying, okay, I know that you're my coach, I know that you're my manager, so that I have to respect that aspect of it, so that I know when you tell me something, or you correct something, or you say this is not the way it needs to be, this is done, I have to have that respect. And I'm not saying they don't, because I've not talked to their players. I don't know how he reacts, interacts with them day to day.
With them a lot.
But there's just no separator, right?
For
and
him,
it's just, I mean, dude, he was bouncing around sometimes, and his players weren't even reacting like that.
For him to be pulling in the kind of talent,
I'm not talking shit on him. I just want to say that.
No, it's not shit. I'm evaluating.
Observation.
Hey, I'm in a space now that I can evaluate what I see. It's not about talking shit. I'm just telling you what I see. I've been through a lot of this shit, so I can kind of tell you what I see, right? With that being said, I'm not knocking him as a coach, bro. He's obviously got a good relationship with guys if he keeps bringing in the kind of talent he's brought in there. You can't keep fooling him that much, right? So he's obviously good at something, right? But for me, when I watch him, like you said, when the antics are not just directed at making sure I get on the umpire, or like there's so much reactionary stuff that he does. There was a big part, I think it might have been in the 8th or maybe the inning before that, where, and I've seen other people do it, where he goes out there, goes crazy, and he didn't even watch the last strike of the inning. He wasn't even anywhere near it.
Right.
He wanted nothing to do with it.
Well, that's the one where he hopped out on the squat and then went through the middle of the thing.
And he didn't even come back out to watch the rest of the at-bat. He was in the dugout, I'm sure, and I'm sure he wasn't in the tunnel.
No, but he wasn't in his normal seat. Like
Right.
he's like second row, like he's on top.
My
of the,
point
second
is,
from the steps is where
my
he
point
usually
is,
and he
if
wasn't
that
there.
if that's a thing, there's no way in hell you're going to tell me that he only does that when umpires are wrong.
Right.
So somewhere down the line, he's done that when a hitter's been bad, when a pitcher can't find it. Those are tough for those guys to look in the dugout and see that that's what's going on with the guy that's making the decision on who's.
He gets
No doubt.
frustrated like a player.
No doubt. And it's okay. You just got to learn how to, I mean, he does what he wants to do. But I would imagine as a player, you want to say, you can get frustrated all you want. Like, there's times where you should get frustrated. But how do you not, you just have to separate yourself from being player and manager, right? And so that's my observation, right? Listen, puts together a really good team. They are a good, like, they're going to win a lot of games. They're going to be out there. They're going to be in a super regional.
I mean, you could go into today. I mean, it's still, look at how close it was with Skeens on the mound. Like, it's not like they're bad.
Right.
You know?
No.
Like, so for people to take this game for what it was, and it was an electric win for LSU, but you can't shit on Tony Vitello or shit on Tennessee and be like, oh, LSU's going to sweep. Tonight's going to be another bare knuckle fight.
No doubt. So that's kind of what I want. I'm glad Doug Thompson's coming in because I want to preview the game tonight because Chase Burns is another potential first rounder. He's 2-1 with a 4.15 ERA.
He very well might have a better arm than the guy they threw last
You're
night.
going to get upper 90s. You're going to get all
Upper
that.
90s, he's got a wipeout slider.
He's got 34 innings pitched and 59 strikeouts.
A wipeout slider. Like,
So he's got the stuff.
Is he right-handed or left-handed?
Is he? He's right-handed.
Oh, she's going to win that.
Why?
Yeah, LSU can't hit left-handed pitching.
Says who? Tiger
It's
Drop?
Tiger dropping. You haven't read the thread?
So the game's going to be really good, right? You have Ty Floyd, who's been really good. Ty Floyd has the fourth best ERA in all of SEC baseball. He's got a 2 ERA. He threw really well last weekend. He got through the first inning. To me, that was a huge sign of growth for me about him. Is he had a tough first. He got through got through 6 innings, giving up only those 2 runs in the first. So it's going to be another elite matchup. Both guys are first round caliber talents. Both lineups are good. I believe LSU's lineup, after watching both teams, I believe LSU's lineup is better.
I mean, look, there was a record crowd there last night, so obviously there wasn't any lack of desire to be at the game. But just in case the ones that were on the fence didn't understand it, there were 75 Major League scouts that requested to be in attendance of last night's game. 75. If you think that's normal, you're crazy.
How many baseball teams are there?
There's only 30. So we got 2 plus a team.
Which means there's probably some GMs in attendance,
Right.
Scouting
directors.
I'm
I'm going to tell you right now, the only other place
Presidents,
you
owners,
see that
owners.
in amateur baseball, that many scouts, not the summer circuit, not in these World Wood Bat tournaments, the SEC tournament. It's pretty much the only other place you see it, right? They were there for one SEC series last night. So if you're on the fence about, man, should I see this in person? Is it really that? That should be something that should help you push you to it.
What was yesterday? As far in the baseball world,
Opening day?
it was Major League Baseball opening day, right?
Yeah.
Crazy. An opening day, the biggest game in Major League Baseball. You're gonna have 75 scouts on opening day in a college baseball stadium. Because they're not all scouts. The team is not sending 2 scouts per team, 2 plus scouts per team to go watch the game. They don't need to do that. They're gonna send 1 scout. So to me, that tells me there were some higher ups.
There were some
at that game.
There were some GMs.
There were some scouting directors. There were all these guys that probably would want to be around opening day or at LSU. And that shows you how much talent, that was on the field last night, and what you're going to get, what you get in the SEC. Yeah. Boy, that was a lot. We could keep talking, and we're going to keep talking. We're going to take a 2-minute break, give some love to our sponsor before we go to break. We had a tailgate yesterday. Right? Our tailgate yesterday was pretty fire, to be honest. We threw it together. It went really well. We kind of partnered with a tailgate right next to us. We had some really good food. We had a ton of Heineken Silvers. People were throwing them back. I think we ran out.
People are on the team now.
Yeah.
We had the little convincing. They're like, oh, Heineken. No, I don't like it. And it's like, no, this is the different version.
Yeah.
And I saw multiple people grab it and go, oh, it is different.
Yeah, it's different.
This is not the beer that I thought it was.
And it tastes pretty good. It looked clean, crisp. It was cold. I had them iced down, right? And we had a really good
Mikey
turnout.
did everything.
except for the speaker. But Lloyd tried to make me feel like, oh, you should have gone get the speaker too. So thanks for Lloyd for being
Lloyd
2
brought the
hours
speaker
late.
2 hours late.
Yeah.
I had a business meeting.
Yeah. So
I'm a businessman.
we had ice chest full of Heineken Silver. We had some other alcohol there as well. It was a first tailgate. I believe that this is something that we're going to try to do throughout the course of the year. It may not be every weekend. Obviously, next Friday is Good Friday, so we're probably not going to have a tailgate on Good Friday next weekend just
I would
because
say a crawfish boil.
there's a lot of family that, there's family. It's family
Is that when
time.
you get ashes?
No, that's Ash Wednesday, but let's just you just sit over there. Let me talk about Jesus, and you just talk about.
He's coming back.
So, we're gonna have tailgates throughout periodically through the course of the year.
He's playing
We're gonna
center field
be
for LSU.
we're probably gonna be in
got a
different
chance.
location. We will let y'all know when we do it. I like the fact that we're not gonna tell you where it's at. You got to come and look for us. I think I like that.
I had people see me with the speaker looking like a bum rolling it around, and they're like, I think he works with Mikey. We're going to go find the secret
There you
tailgate.
go.
So I had a crew. They were wearing out some Tennessee fans. They're like, oh, wait, you're going to the Mikey's tailgate? I was like, yeah, I think I'm invited. And they just, the little, the Pied Piper.
There you go.
They all hopped in line.
And that's how you do it. You start building it. We start doing
it's like
these
a
things.
speakeasy.
Absolutely. And so we're going to continue. We appreciate that. But the whole point of this is we had our partners at Heineken Silver. We wouldn't have been possible without them. They allowed us. They gave us the beer. They supplied us with, obviously, a great sponsorship and a great partnership. And we were able to give them the publicity. We got some people on some Heineken Silver. Hopefully their sales goes up in the next couple weeks for other tailgates. Maybe today. Maybe they're going out there tailgating today and they want to go get it. Heineken Silver is the light beer for Heineken. It is their equivalent of Michelob. It's light. It's 95 calories.
Actually
it's
good.
crisp. It's really good. You put it on ice. Don't give it to Lloyd hot like I normally do. But before we go to break, I wanted to give a shout out to them because they have been very instrumental in our growth, and I appreciate that. And we love their beer.
And if you get get a little pickle like we did last night, where seventh inning the beer shuts down, they stop. Just put a couple in your pocket
Or
your sock.
Or put a little extra in the ice chest so when you go back to your car, get a DD first. Get a designated driver.
Uber.
Yeah, Uber. Well, that takes away from what I was saying. So get a designated driver, park your truck or your car, put the ice chest in the trunk or the bed, and then when you can't get out of the parking lot, the line is so long, you sit at the bed of your truck and just throw a couple back. It's easy. You get the DD and you can just chill out in the passenger side. So we appreciate Heineken for everything they do. Thank you everybody who came out and supported our tailgate. You gave us a lot of confidence to put it on again. So we will keep you updated when that happens. We're going to take a 2-minute break. You are watching Mik'd Up. We'll be back on the other end, hopefully with Dougie Fresh in studio soon. Maybe you can have. Are you gonna have a Heineken Silver for the game? Maybe.
I kind of want one now.
You gonna shotgun another one?
You want another? I don't know if you should shotgun because we saw how that went last time.
I don't know. I feel like you got to redeem yourself.
You can have a drink. I don't think you should shotgun it.
The way it went,
I'll enjoy this
I think
one.
you should chug it, but maybe not shotgun it.
the way it went last time, it's
Yeah, I could do. I mean, I
can't
can
sip
do
it.
anything. I know. All right, fuck it.
All right, go ahead. Go for it. There.
Oh, that was much
There you
better.
go.
1, 2,
Open it up a little bit. You know what I
4,
mean?
5, 6, 7, 8,
Okay.
9,
Okay. It's
10,
now it's starting to drip. Now
11,
you're struggling a little bit.
12,
It's pretty good.
13.
13
It's not bad.
I'll give you
Not
13.
bad.
12 and a half seconds there. How was it? Was it good?
Delicious. You
It was
can't
very
do that
delicious. With a regular one.
with a regular one.
Right.
You can only do that with the silver.
The silver, why? Because the silver's lighter. It's got
Lighter.
95 calories. It's pretty crisp.
I
So
res-
that wasn't even cold. I know you don't necessarily need a cold beer. That was room temp.
That's
But
the
I respect
fraternity
how
days
quickly
in
you
me.
turned around and gave me a full sentence. That was quick.
Oh,
I like
yeah.
that.
No
Officer,
doubt.
I'm fine.
Respect that.
You've been
Walk the
around
straight
before.
line, kid.
Yeah.
You've been around before, but
It's just breakfast.
It's a very good beer. It's
It
a
is.
very light beer. It's something that you can
Easy to drink.
Easy to drink.
Easy to pour.
Yeah. But it's something that I think it should be in the rotation at tailgates, especially with LSU baseball coming up. We'll get into some of the LSU baseball conversation. Well, you have the sticker on your head.
Well, that's brought to you by EFCO.
There you go.
Every
Who's
single-
EFCO?
EFCO.
Development. There we go.
EFCO
Keep
Development.
going. EFCO Development is a civil construction company based out of Lafayette, Louisiana. They they specialize in
Math waved bye-bye to me long ago, so I never had a chance to work there. Like math, engineering and all of that such. So, the smarter people.
So civil engineering, let me explain to you how this works. The civil engineering is more about the earthwork and the ground, and you prep the land before you build vertically. And I don't know how much mathematics that they are actually doing.
Maybe Jay can tell
us. In that spot. So I don't think the math excuse to you is a thing, but FCO Development, our friends. That's why you have the sticker on your forehead. I'm sure your friend, Tyler Day. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. We usually finish the show on Fridays around 2:30-ish. This one's probably going to go closer to 3. Doug Thompson is coming in studio. He'll probably be here around 2:20-ish. Oh, yeah. Go do that. We'll just put the double box. Oh, you don't want to put the double box so me and Jared can talk? Okay, I'll just talk with the camera all on me. There we go. There we go. So Doug's coming in at 2:20. He was calling the game. He was on the radio. Obviously, Doug Thompson's an LSU legend, a friend of mine, neighbor of mine, loves talking baseball, understands. We kind of have the same mindset of baseball, and so I'm looking forward to asking him about what he saw. He was a pitcher. He obviously, sees the game differently than probably me and Jared do because we're offensive players, we're position players. But he's coming in. We're excited to talk to him about LSU.
I'm excited because I like the opportunity to talk to guys They've gone through the game a different way than we have. So it's cool when they come in because it's not necessarily to be combative, but it's your perspective of it is this because, obviously through your life experiences.
Right.
And we've seen it through this way, so to kind of be able to gel those and blend those and kind of give you that outlook is cool to me.
Right. No, I'm with you. And I think he has a
I wish he would do that more.
I know.
Instead, he's just like in the shop, but I wish he'd literally just do that.
He has a pretty good feel of
he does
how position players think and how pitchers think, and he's great to have just a baseball conversation.
I guess the best way to say it is just like you said, there is no mistaking who Ben McDonald is, what Ben McDonald has done, what Ben McDonald has seen, what Ben McDonald knows, right? He's probably forgotten more baseball than a lot of people know baseball, right? But I can remember even when we had him on earlier, and it was super early, and he talked about his not being sure about LSU is offensively because of the strikeouts. And I'm like, man, it's a little early for that one, right? But he's seen it through a pitcher's standpoint, right? We've always seen it through a hitter's standpoint where we're talking 10 games in. Who cares at this point? We got a lot of time. A lot of time to correct this thing.
No doubt. So he's coming in about 5 or so minutes. Before he gets in here, there's one other thing that I want to talk about the game last night. Jay made a change at the end of the game, and he put in Milazzo for Brady Neal, right? Obviously, Milazzo is known for his defensive abilities, prowess. Known for his, I was going to say prowess, but known for he can always catch and throw, right? Now, he was
elite at catch and throw.
Yeah, and he was hurt last year a little bit, didn't play. So I'm watching him, and the last game out he caught, I felt like he was extremely jumpy. He was just stabbing at balls, and he was jumping at stuff.
Uncharacteristically, too.
Yeah, right. I didn't really remember seeing that, right? So I was like, maybe it was just his way of just trying too hard, or maybe he was not seeing the ball well at all, whatever. I don't know what the deal was. So then he comes in yesterday.
So back-to-back outings.
Yeah, back-to-back outings. He's been there, and he's doing the same thing, right? He kind of botched one of the first one, got the guy to second, and then the other one was was supposed to be down, ended up being up, and he botched that one. It was probably a little bit half and half on him and the pitcher, and ball gets to third base. Guy gets to third base. I'm like, he just didn't seem like the normal Milazzo I got used to seeing. And then obviously the guy steals, and he makes an unbelievable throw and makes the play way closer than anybody thought. I thought he got him. Obviously didn't get him because they overturned it. But I don't understand what the deal is.
So
what's going on.
my only guess is
I meant to ask Micah Gibbs actually about that last night, but I didn't ask. him for
my
that.
only guess is this. There's two things.
Call him.
Somehow, some way, he's got the Dugas syndrome of some kind of way going on. I don't know.
You can't see?
Yeah, I don't know if that means he needs surgery or what's something like that. I don't really think it's that. I think that's the one that's far down the line of possibility. What I think it possibly might be, though, is he understands that this is his role on this team.
Mm-hmm.
He understands that this is
It's like a field goal kicker.
his chance to come out and do his thing. And I think early on right now in these spots, maybe, just maybe, that he's trying to be a little too fine.
And don't get me wrong, he had some. Like there was a block in the 9th inning that he got.
I think he settles
smothered.
in. No, yeah, but I
Right.
think there was one that you could just tell, like, he didn't miss it. He didn't get crossed up. It was here, and somehow it just goes off. So it's almost like he's trying to be a little too quick, a little too fine, frame it and make it look a little too good, instead of just, I guess, settling in when
Right.
he comes in from the start.
Yeah, and like it's not a big critique. It was just
No, it's
an
not.
observation.
No,
I saw. I was like,
we're talking about it for one reason and one reason only, because we hadn't seen it from him before.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
So it's not to criticize the guy, but it's uncharacteristic from what we've seen from him behind the
And
plate.
Jay trusts him enough to put him in a situation in that game, hadn't
Yeah.
played all game, put him in the end of the game to where, hey, they're probably going to try to run. They're only down. They're tied up. They're going to try to get an advantage. We need the guy who's going to be able to cut him down. And, so he obviously respects his defensive ability, but it's just weird. I just haven't seen.
It doesn't make me
him.
think anything less of him either, right? Like I said, those are uncharacteristic. We've had a large sample size of Milazzo, especially behind the plate. Like, we know how good he is behind the plate. So it doesn't really make me like uneasy when he gets back there. I just hadn't seen that from him before.
Right.
So it looked weird seeing it from him 2 outings in a row.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, it was just, like I said, something I just wanted to bring up.
And, well, what I wanted to bring up, because he's been so good defensively in the past, is I don't know if this is a pitch watch thing that they have going on where he's probably more comfortable putting signs down and being more in the flow of the game as opposed to being essentially told what.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You're always getting told. Like, he was never ever calling the pitches, but maybe because it's so easy to call pitches now. Maybe it's just like a look, and then all of a sudden I don't remember what was called. I don't know. That's a good observation. It's a good thought process. I don't really know. I don't know what the thing is, but what we saw from him, that almost hurt us this last game. We've seen things that have been uncharacteristic of him. So,
Yeah, do you think you see him again this weekend?
yeah, I do.
Plaza?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do.
maybe. Is that?
I would hope so.
Tailgate?
Otherwise, we're in
Yeah,
trouble.
yeah. The other one. Yeah.
All right. We're not even gonna take a break. We're just
No,
gonna get
no,
him in
yeah,
here.
we're
We're
just
just gonna
walk
get him
on
in.
in.
Just keep. Yeah.
We're just gonna get him in here.
Douglas.
There he is. Looking
How
fresh.
we doing, baby?
Looking fresh. What's happening? I appreciate you. We had a nice little Skip
Repartee?
Bourbon conversation today.
Yeah.
That was nice. No, we did. Yeah. So I appreciate you. I know you're going on the field. You're calling the game.
Yeah, man.
You did great last night. I'm gonna be
Thank
honest
you.
with you.
Appreciate it.
Be honest with you, I didn't listen because although
I saw y'all.
Last night didn't
I
you
saw
did see
y'all
this,
seats.
although
Yeah.
that I am too old for baseball apparently because I don't get the offers. I don't think that I've reached the age where I put the headphones in and listen to the radio while I'm watching the game yet. So
Fair
I'm
enough.
sorry that I have not.
We're in that
I think you
in-between
have to be
spot
a
right
10-year vet,
Yeah.
like sitting there every night.
Yeah,
But there
I
are
think
certainly
so.
people that enjoy listening
we're
to
in that
it, and we
in-between
love
right
those people. Feel like sometimes when they're listening, and like last night, for example, the one moment that I was kind of waiting for something that really didn't quite meet the expectation is we got the bases loaded with 2 outs. That break, right? They did the whole Garth Brooks thing. It was great. But I looked at the kids, right? And like, where was the 2 guys with the towel? Like when they said play ball like now, like right now, it has to be mind-boggling out there for that pitcher and that catcher.
Right.
And they got there. Of course, when Thompson hit the double,
of course.
the roar was there.
Yeah.
But if that roar had been there,
Yep.
right before that,
What did I say?
Right.
What did I say? I told him.
How many times have you seen him crumble out there? Just
Yeah, exactly.
You're not
I
doing
said-
anything but standing in the batter's box.
Right.
like
I
we
literally
are.
said that was as close to the playoff atmosphere that I've seen it in a while.
It was awesome.
But it's not quite the playoff atmosphere.
Not quite yet.
Because it's not literally living and dying on each and every pitch.
Not quite yet.
Not quite
but
there,
it
but
felt
was
like
close.
a little appetizer
Absolutely.
to a regional. You
It
know
did.
what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It's more than I expected on the second weekend of SEC series at home.
Oh, for sure.
Way more than I expected.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
obviously-
Which is a good sign as the season
I mean,
continues.
25-3. What are we? 23 and
3 and
3.
23 and 3.
23 and 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
yeah,
ridiculous.
we knew we were going to be good, but 23 and 3. I mean,
And like,
that's-
listen, I'm not condoning throwing stuff on the field.
No.
But you go to Ole Miss. What happens in the bullpen, Ole Miss? You're getting doused with beer, and beer's getting thrown into the bullpen. What happens when you go to Mississippi State? You're getting hot dogs thrown at you in the outfield. You're getting smoked out in the outfield. I like that. I like that there's beer showers. I like that the students want. They should make that section all on the right, left side.
Two people
just
got
the
arrested
student
last
section.
night.
They should just be the student section.
they're
I
going
think
to
that
arrest
was
them
awesome.
enough to where, look, maybe there's a compromise. Maybe you just throw them up and over the
yeah.
back of
Right.
the bleachers.
Hey,
Absolutely.
Give me the energy, a little better channeling.
But here's the problem with it: LSU student section, they're the best.
Yes.
They are simply the best in football. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And they're the best in baseball. Last night when they opened that gate, dude, it was a mad rush.
Yeah.
Like the bleachers filled up in 3 seconds. It seemed. But here's the deal: in baseball, momentum is real.
Real.
And on Friday nights, it's real, right? And if you disrupt an offense that is hungry and fighting to get to that bat rack, those cans and that delay may cost that team the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if you're behind.
Yeah.
Yep.
If that run that everybody just threw the stuff out didn't clinch it or
Right.
whatever or put them away, then you're really risking a big momentum change there.
Absolutely.
And it'll only be a matter of time before they make it an out or something like that, because that just can't.
Right.
I
Can't
mean,
throw on
we
the
can,
field.
Can't
we,
throw
we
the-
can,
but
we
the
can,
hype-
we can give it to you
that.
like we can give it to you like this is I would go as far to say you saw Garrett Edwards throw back to back 2 games on the same day last week. You know more than any of us know that's a lot, and I'm not saying it's too much. I'm saying that's a lot. So he didn't throw all week, and he throws again on Friday night. That extra little bit of 3 innings may seem like nothing, but 3 to 4, 5 minutes where he's still sitting on the bench after being out an inning
Loses rhythm.
could lose a little bit of rhythm. It
Man.
could take him longer to get into where he needs to be.
I'll tell you, and Garrett Edwards, Paul Skeens, and all of the greats, Renato, and whoever's been out there in a big game, right? It'll sound crazy. And of course, you want runs early. You want to get some runs so you can go out there and do your thing. But it gets to a point where you're so emotional and you're so prepared and you're so confident that the next part of the lineup that you're going to punch out the side. Like literally, you're running out there in the 8th thinking, I'm not only about to get through the 8th, I'm going to punch out the side to win this momentum game once and for all, right? Where you're I used to think like, okay, that's enough, right? We got a 5-run lead. We got 3 outs to get. That's enough, because it does get like that. Yeah. And now the element of throwing stuff on the field, and you're just like, man, and you're cooling down a little bit. That matters in baseball, right? For the pitcher's rhythm and the hitter's timing and all that stuff. So it was awesome, though.
It was.
I mean, it was awesome, and I loved every bit of it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't think it's the best thing for the team moving forward, but there's ways. Like throw it up in the air,
throw it up
straight.
backwards. Throw the beer up in the air.
Just try to keep it off the field.
Just play the game. Play the game of how about we rush to be on the front row. That way, when these beer showers happen, we basically don't get them because we're just gonna keep throwing them back. Every row throws it back.
Throw it straight back, maybe over the top. I guess somebody could. I don't know. I don't know if what the answer is except for to just not do it. Look, watch the Yankees and watch all. Like nobody does that.
Yeah.
Nobody throws beer cans on the field, no matter where we are. Even Ole Miss, they throw the cups up in the air, and it doesn't. They don't have to stop.
Exactly.
And again, in baseball, you could really hurt your team if, like, for example, what was it after the Thompson double or the Dugas homer?
Yeah. Thompson double. Yeah.
So you take that 5-run lead, but for example, if it's 6-5, and you get to within a run there, and there's 2 outs, and you do that, could lose the literally
what if
lose
that ties
the
you
game.
the game, and now we got to go back into the other.
Exactly. It just breaks up that momentum. So, but how electric was that, dude? Could you watch that game over again? Start right now and watch it over again.
I was telling Lloyd, I was like, going into that game, right? I've played in a lot of LSU games. I've watched a lot of LSU games growing up, but I haven't really. I've watched a lot since I've been playing and since I've been done, but I haven't really like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go watch the game and just kind of like watch that. This one, I had the anticipation and the energy of like it felt like a football game. Like I was going tailgate.
Yeah.
I was getting ready for this
Yeah.
game. Like there was a lot of hype around it, and like that's what I felt. And I'm like, this is what has been missing here in the stadium for a few years.
Yeah, since 2009, and then all the other. You know, when you're running to Omaha in 17, there was that same vibe, and those teams. Like when I see like a certain lineup, it really looks like a national championship team with some of the names, some of the veterans, some of the big hitters. Some of the the players at the top and bottom that kind of do their thing. Dugas, for example, like the same. And I'm not saying this to blow you guys up, but I really felt that vibe with y'all too. You had the freshmen that were doing their thing. You had the veterans. You had the two big guys up front. And really, if you look at all of the personalities or the personnel even of all those national championship teams, they all had these type of players in it. So there's a lot of you got to have a strong middle. That's one thing you hear, and it's about as strong as it gets right now. The way Jordan Thompson's playing, and Cruz you would obviously know better. Both of you guys, this guy can go get it, dude, and he makes it look like
all three of them
seamless sometimes.
And here's what he does. Here's what he does.
Play a little center field too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh well, my bad.
Yeah, no worries, Doug.
Here's what he does, and I was saying this. I think I was telling it to like BG or David or someone last night, and they're talking about like he goes out and gets it in center field. It doesn't ever feel like he's like out of position. And I was like, what he does so well, and he can attest to this, is the hardest thing for an outfielder to do, but what makes a really good outfielder great is when the ball goes up and he knows that it's over his head down, take off, re-pick it back up, and get to the spot as quick. And he does that. Like the last inning.
The last play of the game.
Last play of the game. He puts his head down, and I'm like, oh, and I'm thinking like, oh no, he's getting to there, and he's just gonna camp, so he's not drifting back, and like that makes an elite defensive outfielder. Jackie Bradley was very good at doing that.
When I watch him, he's as good defensively as you literally need to be in center. And he's been so good offensively that you just don't talk about what he does defensively.
Yeah.
It's overshadowed.
Crazy.
It's like
That's
Jordan.
crazy.
It's like he's so good scoring. Oh, he won defensive scoring. Or
Trout.
But another part.
Trout,
But another part I think of when you were talking about the middle, I interpreted it before you said what you were talking about. Is I thought about it this way, and he hasn't played every game. He's had his couple struggles here and there, but when we can run a lineup out that's featuring a Tommy White who has 2 RBIs a game at this point, Dylan who's still hitting 500 at this point, the top of the lineup to be doing what it's doing, and all of a sudden I'm getting to the 6 and 7 hole, and here's a kid hitting 340 with 9, and he's 6'10", and you're like, where does it stop?
It doesn't.
This is ridiculous. You're not supposed to have this in college
It doesn't.
baseball.
And there's dudes like Joe Bear in the dugout.
You got Joe Bear in the dugout. You got
18
Clean
pumps
coming
last
off the
year.
bench.
Exactly.
You're like, what? This is ridiculous.
Exactly. It's like a national championship
No doubt.
team. Like you guys were solid through your lineup, but there were some dudes on that bench that could go get it done if they needed to.
I mean,
for
Leon
sure.
Landry was on the bench and he had 12 homers on the bench.
You see, that's exactly right. And same thing for us in '97 and all the others.
Yep.
It's the same. It's
Yep.
about depth. It's about those other guys. See, this is the deal. Like, this is what's pivotal for this team. What Rooster just said. They have a lot of good players and just not that many innings and positions to get them all in. Mm-hmm. So, like, I remember the 1997 national champion. There was a guy named Keith Polozola. He was number 1. He was definitely like the comedian of the team.
Right.
Kept it loose in the locker room. He was always telling the jokes, always had everybody laughing. But
The Buzzy Hideout.
after Warren Morris hit his home run, he was gone. And Keith Polo had been here for 4 or 5 years. Like, it was, everybody just kind of thought he was going to play second base when we first got to campus. Mm-hmm. And then this guy named Blair Barbier showed up. Like, for real though. Like, showed up. Like, was hitting in the fall and was playing and was an athlete and all that stuff. And I do remember a couple days where it was like, everybody kind of realized, like,
Yeah, he's our guy.
Blair, Danny, somebody, there's going to be somebody else start there.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be Polo. How is he going to handle this? And I honestly think there's a chance we don't win in '97 if Keith Polozola doesn't take it in stride.
Right.
Like, he stayed the same exact guy.
Right.
Stayed the same exact guy the whole year. He never got bitter. And that happened. There's a chance for that this year. You had some guys that when they left last year to go play summer ball, in their mind they were going to be the guy in wherever. They didn't know Tommy White was going to come here. They didn't know that all of these things were going to happen, and they did. if those guys go bitter on you, it could kill the whole vibe.
No doubt.
Like one or two guys that don't play, and I know that sounds like such a youth coach thing to say.
No, it's real.
But it is
real.
so real because the next year, and I'm not saying we lost in 1998 because of this only, but there was some of that.
Yeah.
There was some guys that everybody thought was going to play. They were dudes. They absolutely could have played and got the job done. But for whatever reason, the head coach at the time put another lineup in there that maybe shocked some people.
Right.
And those guys didn't handle it as well necessarily that year as Keith Polizzola, for example, did the year before. So how are those guys... How are those guys named Beloso and Joe Bear and these dudes and it keeps going. I mean, it keeps going.
The list is
that are looking at Kentucky and looking at Auburn and looking at Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Who hadn't won a game yet, by the way. Did Ole Miss finally win? Or Ole Miss finally
They
win?
win.
State did not.
Yeah.
They both played last night.
No, that's right.
Oh, they are playing each
only
other.
South Carolina and State played.
So South Carolina beat Mississippi
Last
State.
night. They did. So
okay.
State's still winless.
Wow.
How about that? Former 2 national champions, 0-13 right now.
And South Carolina came back in that game, didn't they?
Yeah, well, it was 1-1, 3-3. I didn't know if Ole Miss went up, but it ended up being 6-3 South Carolina.
Wow.
But anyway, the point is, like, these guys that we're talking about who could play. They could play anywhere.
Not only they've played a lot of ball here.
They've played a lot, and they've hit some home runs, and they've done some things, right? Like, the message I would give them is, first of all, come every day like you're starting.
No doubt.
Because y'all know how this is. Like,
know.
that dude could get hurt right now.
Yep.
Like on a slide, on a dive, on a tag,
You gotta be ready.
There's so many ways to get out, and basically the ball's so hard.
Yeah.
You know, for 3 weeks, just off the knuckle. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're out 3 weeks and these hamstrings and all. Like you've got to show up to play every day, and you've got to be the guy. Back to the original comment. If you're not in, stand up, take that towel, and right now, when the bases are juiced, we're back from the TV break. Wave that towel and get this place like, my God.
No doubt.
If this team can get locked into what's there, y'all have seen it.
Yeah.
What's available. We always say it's the greatest fans on earth, right? Louisiana gets so much crap for being last in everything, education and obesity. we just dumb, slow, and fat, right? But the reality is that's why we're so passionate.
Right.
When we get a number one, when we get national eyes from everywhere looking at something we're doing down here, that's why that passion's there.
No doubt.
And if you sprinkle a little bit on it, if you give the good fist pump like Mikie Mahtook sliding into home plate, let's go, dude, y'all have heard it. You've heard your action create a roar that you didn't know was there before that fist pump or that let's go, you know,
that's
whatever
what I was
it
telling
is.
him. I was like, if I hit the double that Jordan Thompson hit, I was sliding headfirst in second base for no reason.
You were giving
and I
it
was banging on the bag
No
and I
doubt
was
about
yelling
it.
at the dugout to my boys. That's
No
it.
doubt about it.
Yeah.
So, like pounding your chest, let's go, going crazy.
Seeing
right?
stars because I'm yelling so like it's just that's it.
And
When you black out, like you don't even remember the moment. Like you don't.
And y'all have done it. You've done it on the football field too. When you do something great, and your action actually causes that outburst, bro. It's a different level of adrenaline.
No doubt.
It's a different type of adrenaline drug, dude. It's addictive. Like you want to be that dude that makes the next punch out and makes them roar again. But those kids in the dugout, in that moment, can create that for that dude at the plate.
100%.
And if you give that guy at the plate that LSU or that whatever, like Tommy Tanks, dude, they're hitting with the Tommy. That's awesome.
Tell you what, if Tommy would have hit a homer,
that place would have.
He wouldn't have left the box until the ball landed.
There'd have been the earthquake deal. There'd have been a seismic.
To your point, I'm so glad you made that point, man. And to anyone who's listening about it, I don't think people realize if you can't really like look back on what's happened on the year already. We don't have to go back too far. It was maybe a week or two ago, right? If you can't show up ready to play every day, if you can't buy into that spot, and Dylan Cruz gets hit in the hand and he's not wearing this, well, he's gone.
You're not ready.
You got to step in. Like that's how close it is, and that's God forbid nothing happens like that to any of them, but it is ball. And stuff does happen, right?
And the odds say it's going to happen.
Right. You're that close.
Right.
And it may not be Dylan. Who knows who it could be, right? But you're
Can
that
we not
close.
even say that?
I don't.
Like, can we not?
Yeah, you're right.
But we're talking about it. I'm just like, it's
true.
crazy to think about. Like, yeah, dude, every single one of them that's been very vital parts to this team, who is a very vital part to this team now, I get it. You feel like you hadn't touched a bat in 3 years. Or you're this close.
Can't matter right now.
You're this close. And you got to show up every day and understand you're this close. Because the one time you say, man, I'm not in it, that's
Warren Morris is the greatest example. I mean, the guy could have easily gotten fat over the year while he's literally the handmade bone. He could have gone to the bars, done the thing, right? But instead, he's kept grinding and he kept believing. And hey, coach, like regionals, bro, not like coach, I think I'm good. And then the guy, you know, like that's the example. Like you have to go every day. If you tape your wrists, tape them every day, back up or not. If they clown you, let them clown you, because it might be you. And then when it is, you don't have time to go 3 innings to catch your breath. We've talked about this before, right? Like, and it's unfortunate, but that's part of sports and that's part of life too, because when baseball's over, there's going to be some decisions when your kid's got some things to do. Like, you don't have time. You've got to make that stressful decision.
And you may only get one opportunity.
That's it, right?
You may only get one. Some guys get 10, some guys get 1. And you have to be ready for that one opportunity.
That's it, bro.
No doubt.
That's what it's all about.
We recapped the game earlier for the whole hour, like went through inning by inning. Kind of, there's a couple key plays that we talked about, right? Obviously, the pitching matchup and the talent and like what you saw, the hype that was given to the game, it lived up to everything, plus more, right? So then you go in, you say, okay, we got through Dolander, right? Like we got through their first rounder. You got a guy coming in tonight, right? You're calling the game. We have a guy who I think is first round talent on our mound for us, right? Ty Floyd. He's been really good. He's 4th in the SEC in ERA. He's got a 2 ERA. He showed me a lot last week, right? He had a rough first, gave up a 2-run homer, almost got out the inning 3 up, 3 down, then gave up the 2-run homer, 34 pitches, ended up getting through 6, no more runs, right?
Signs of a real starter.
Exactly.
That's right.
Sign of growth. Hey, this guy's ready. He's ready for the next step. He's doing what he's doing. They have a guy coming in, Chase Burns, who's also a first-round talent, who has 59 strikeouts in 34 innings. His ERA is maybe a little bit more inflated than people would, his numbers would show. What do you like? What do you want to see from this game? Like, what are you looking forward to? Obviously, we're trying to preview the game and kind of tell people what to look for going into the day. Man,
the pitching, you know, I watch this stuff a lot, and it's as old as time itself, and it's ageless, meaning I watch it. Excuse me. I'm at the youth park and travel ball for probably 10 hours a weekend as well.
Which, by the way, they played on Monday. The tournament ended on Monday.
We didn't. We weren't good enough to, thank God, because my kids need to be in school. But
at 10 a.m. on school day.
Yeah. That's all crazy. The way till like 6 p.m. that night. That's a whole different topic. We could have a whole podcast.
Not for Doug. Doug gets himself tossed. And
not
then
anymore.
Go,
new leaf,
keep
new
hearing
leaf.
that, and I keep getting tossed.
Never. No ejections. But the more we talk about it on all this, I feel like I'm getting targeted.
No doubt.
I mean, Tony Vitello, Doug Thompson.
He's here. Let's get him.
You know, these umpires listen to some of these shows, right? And, man, I can't even remember where I was going with that.
No,
but,
the matchup with the pitchers, oldest time.
It's his oldest time. At the end of the day, who's going to walk less?
Right.
Last night, that was the story. You know, the Dolander kid had 4 walks, a hit by pitch or 2, and Skeens had 1. I mean, and in so many, you know, in Little League baseball, it's like 13 walks and 11, but the team with 11 usually wins.
Yep.
And it's really comes down to that. So for me, I like Ty Floyd too, and he throws strikes. And I don't know, can Chase Burns throw strikes in front of 13,000 people who are going ape shit?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. Like, we're about to find out here in about 4 hours, right? Everybody can't do that.
Right.
Like, it's not for everybody. Right, to pitch against the visiting crowd.
No doubt. I'm glad you said it that way.
It's not for everybody.
Different.
Yeah,
because they're used to that team right now is used to having a large, very, very pro crowd at home, and they win a lot of games, and there are not many close ones at home.
Well, they're 0-5 on the road.
Going on the road,
going on the road, 3 games,
and doing that on the road, it's a different.
You're
life.
uncomfortable. The uniform doesn't feel the same as the home uni. You're not sleeping in your bed. Your girlfriend's not there. Whatever.
Right.
It's all different, just like it is in professional baseball. So for me, you know, I think we'll know, like, whether anybody walks a batter the first inning or not. For me, I'm looking for, like, who's more dialed in right now. And it's like with Paul Skeens, that's what makes him so much fun, right?
First
he throws so hard, but it's like, I mean, it's pinpoint. And Ty Floyd's got that type of command with his fastball as well, and now he's got a little curveball and some other things. So if Burns goes out there and the moment's too big and he feels like he's got to win because Dolander just got beat, he could unravel pretty quick. We have, it's a checklist. Like, we've got 2 of them out of the way because the second guy yesterday, what was his name? Holverson.
He's done for, he's what, 3
50,
innings?
60
Yeah,
pitches. Like, he's out. Of course, Dolander's out. Now you got to check Chase Burns. And then there's apparently 3 other guys in their bullpen that'll bump 100. So there's still a lot of meat on the bone. But, man, how great did they come out swinging it in the first inning?
Unbelievable.
They hit some balls hard in that first inning. First and second, no outs. If you tell me 3 barrel balls are still coming, you're thinking it's a 5-run inning, right?
And I'm just going to tell you, the first game I said it this year, which is not even 10 games into the year, but it also wasn't the first game of the year. I go to the Southern game on a Tuesday, and there's 9,000 people there, right? On a day off. I'm like, nobody's in town. People are out of town. There's a lot of people here.
Yeah.
As I'm watching the game, I'm like, man, up and down the lineup, these are like some very pro at bats. Like, they're not giving in when they get to 0-2. They're fighting stuff off.
Dude.
They're punching stuff. They're finding ways to get on base. And for me, throughout the year so far, like you said, from start, I feel like they put together tough at bats up and down the lineup. And that's not talking about just the talent they have. It's literally how they're going about these at bats.
Yeah, it's a pro-style strategy. It's look for that fastball early. When you get late, you just let it travel and wait for that mistake or grind him down to a walk. They're great at drawing the walks.
Yes.
They crowd the plate. They make
hit.
it uncomfortable for the pitcher. And it's not over when it's 0-2.
Right.
They really have an understanding of what they're trying to do in an 0-2 count. And college pitchers make a lot of mistakes.
How hard is that making the pitch on the other side of it?
When a team's dialed in like that, bro, I mean, it's tough. Like,
well, I mean,
you got to have some hard hit balls at people. You got to have something. Like, if you
feel like you got to be perfect.
You got to be perfect.
And
then
you look
when you're
at,
trying to be perfect, that's when you miss big.
That's when you miss.
And
big.
you look at everybody's talking about early in the year. I think there's 2 fluky games, a lot of strikeouts in those 2 fluky games. Other than that, they didn't really strike out a ton, but everybody's like, oh, well, LSU strikes out too much. Why are they striking out so much? They had Dollander didn't get his first strikeout to the 4th inning.
4th inning, yeah. 2 strikeouts.
2 strikeouts. A guy who's supposed to be a top 5 pick, 2.
Just so people understand, there is not a single guy that's ever tabbed as a top 5 guy that's a controlled contact pitcher. It's always because they have explosive stuff and the ability to strike whoever they want out.
With command.
And that's what he's been tabbed as for the last 2 years.
Yeah. So to your point, like the pro at bats and the way they go through them, like I was never worried about the strikeouts. Baseball, weird thing. Early on in the season, offense needs to find their footing. Like that's
and
fine.
The glare could be the shadows.
Right.
Like there's
a
all
whole
kinds
bunch
of stuff,
different
right?
cold.
I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
No
There's a bunch of factors. Of
doubt.
course.
I don't think people understand this part of it too, because it's so funny you said that. You play the beginning of the baseball season, as funny as it is when daylight savings times hit, right?
Yeah.
That sun now becomes in a different spot when you're used to playing. So now we got to get used to a whole new set of shadows, a whole new set of sightings. The sun's in a different spot. It may take a little while.
Yeah. It takes a minute.
Just is what it is.
It's just the way, and that's the beauty of baseball.
And it's no excuse, but it is an element you play through.
That's the beauty of baseball.
Just so many different factors.
So many different factors.
Not a ton of domes. You have to deal with weather. You have to deal. Not every stadium is the exact same dimensions. Mm-hmm. You have different sunsets, different hitters' eyes. Just so many different things.
Backdrops. Some of them are brighter. Some
at
of
the
them
box,
are darker.
those 1 p.m. games.
Oh, it sucks.
The grandstand shadows start at home plate and just creep to the mound.
Sucks.
So it's white ball, dark ball for 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's a lot to deal with.
It's tough.
So
we talked about the offense, right? Obviously, our offense has been putting pro at bats. Going back to Tennessee, like I wasn't. Now Skeens was on the mound, so take it with a grain of salt. It's a lot. I mean, that guy's the guy, right? We talked about this off air a couple days ago. Like, I think he's a 3-starter in the big leagues right now, right? Like, I just think that's the ability that he's shown. That
you're saying that on air now.
Now I'm saying it on air.
We said it on air last week.
Oh, yeah,
I was like, let's keep it between us right now. I was like, I feel the same way because that's a big statement.
I said it. I don't
it's
care.
just the
when
way
I watch him do what he's doing, I'm like, it's
and then Skip says
that plays anywhere.
Right. And Skip says, he's got 4 pitches. Well, he's got 5 because he's got the 2-seamer too.
The 2-seamer's
and
nasty.
I think the 2-seamer to lefties makes him a 1-2-3 starter because now you can do it every
when I started noticing it, what made me really start saying it was, so I've seen it I think 3 times in a row, and I'm not literally saying if you go look at the box scores right now that the end of the game was this, but at points in the game, deep into the game, I'm looking at the box scores and I'm seeing the ball to strike ratio, and they're always like better than 2-1. You throw 102, you can at least, maybe not always with command, but with control, throw the off-speed stuff. I'm like, What else would you need to compete in the big leagues?
Yeah, like it's almost
you don't need
overwhelming.
anything
It's
else.
almost too much.
Right.
Last night, 70 fastballs, 52 strikes. Of those 70 fastballs, guess the average miles per hour.
100.
No, average 98.4.
96.
Well, his last two outings, for reference, 98.8 and 98.7. The last two outings,
99 miles an hour.
99.1 miles.
That's faster than any big league.
99.1 miles.
You think he was juiced up a little bit?
When they add the 70 fastballs up and divide by 70, it's 90.1 miles per hour, bro.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, 99.1.
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
I'm thinking about me, on my best night ever.
That's your 90.
And this Dolander guy, like, he's better than, I could have ever dreamt of being. But, I mean, was I seeing the same?
So
No, it's
like,
I had someone ask me today how he looked.
is that really the disparagement between the first and fifth pick in the draft?
Just tell me what you think about this. I had someone ask me today, how did Dolander look last night? And I said, okay, I'll be honest with you. He pretty much sat, I'd say, 5 to 8 last night with the fastball. I said, I truly think it's unfair asking that question facing this lineup when they got to face that stuff all fall. I go, unless you're literally sitting there 98, it doesn't really look that hard.
Well, here's the thing. They always say, "Oh, he didn't have his best stuff." I'm like, well, he's not going to gain miles an hour.
No.
His velo's what it is. So
yeah,
it's like,
So that's
that's
my
the difference for me.
Well, that's my point. So my point is, if you're seeing 95 to 98, but
And
you've
he's
seen
6'2", 205.
but you've seen 100 all fall, I go, if he's not really landing this thing and controlling it, that's not a fair lineup to ask how he looked, because they're not fazed by that.
There's a lot of ways to sum it up, but Skeens' lowest fastball was better than Dolander's best fastball. That was in the 6th, 7th inning.
Right.
Yeah. What did Skeens go, 7?
7.
Yeah. His worst fastball was 98 point whatever. That was Dolander's best fastball. So, I mean, it's hard for me to believe that Skeens is obviously the best we've seen, and we know the kid from Iowa, though. If you just put the football
doing
down,
1-on-4 today.
I know. I mean, like, do we want to keep playing wideout? Okay, let's do the wideout thing. I
don't
guess.
think you understand what you're doing.
What are we doing here? Are we trying to be? Are we playing? You want to play both? I mean, but that kid, he's not dialed in like Skeens with his command.
Right.
So anyway, so Ty Floyd tonight, I think the key I know it's boring because it's as old as time itself, but I think who throws the most strikes in these games with these little small margin for error games, it's who gives the less free passes, because there's just not going to be a whole lot of hits and runs.
I'm glad you said it, because we talked a lot about earlier, like the first hour of the show is games of that magnitude, the smallest things make the biggest difference. Right? And if the people who take advantage of the one mistake usually win, right? Last night, 8th inning. I said two things. Response innings. Every time Tennessee scored a run, LSU scored runs the next inning. It's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the name of the game.
It's getting Mo back in the dugout.
Absolutely,
It's
right?
huge.
And then
Hurts even more when it's your ace.
Right. And who can take advantage of the air? Tennessee had 2 outs, booted the ball with Beloso, and we told him, I said, the next one was an infield single. Beloso was the only guy on the team, the perfect runner for that situation. He was just slow enough to where he could not reach him, and the guy running was the first perfect guy that's fast enough to beat it out, right? Like, the guy on second did nothing wrong. He did everything right. He didn't bobble it.
You think that delay?
That's what happened. But if it's anyone faster, he gets a tag.
Because I got it.
That's when we say did it perfect, because if you go watch it, he feels it very cleanly. The tag wasn't even like a reach. He literally put it out, didn't touch it. Immediate decision, pulled it back in and made
I
the
bet
throw.
if he'd have known Paxton Clean could pick him up,
but
put him down like that.
I also bet if it was at least Jordan Thompson, he doesn't even think about doing this because he's gone and he just makes the play.
I get it.
So I was like, Beloso literally is the only guy in that spot
in the country.
Like, it's unbelievable. Like, it was just, and things like that happen, right? It's like you take advantage, and then all of a sudden, then this happens.
But bro, what
and
about
the guy gets hit?
Speaking of Skip, and y'all know I love Skip, and we all love Skip. But we watch games, and I like to think the three of us could watch a game and really dive deep.
No doubt.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
With all the games that we've played, but this guy's watching it through a telescope, dude.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's throwing down the Jordan Thompson field. He pointed at Jordan Thompson's dad at this deal we were just at. He said, your son made a mistake last night. So we're naturally all thinking about the error in the night.
Right.
No. He said when he went to put the tag on the ball Milazzo threw down that they had to go to replay, he said, your son, he caught it out in front of the
Instead of letting
bag.
it get there.
And what you want to do as a shortstop is catch it right here so it's on him. And I was like,
Yeah, you're taking some
Just
time
that.
out. When you go get
dude,
bring
you're
it
talking
back,
about a glove being that,
Yeah.
you know. And for a guy like Skip Bertman who's been watching this game for 60 years, he sees that's just that's why the game is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It is.
It's beautiful the way
Skip
it is.
said they're talking about Dylan. He goes, "Oh, that guy's good." He goes, "It wasn't the same guy. It wasn't this. It wasn't this. They weren't in the same stratosphere."
No,
He goes,
no,
Skeens
no,
the
no,
He
no.
goes, "Skeens may be the best pitcher I've ever seen." Literally said he coached Ben McDonald.
Yeah.
Literally said that.
Yeah.
He did, which is a big word.
Crazy.
Big words. We've had a.
He said
Look,
may. He didn't say was. He
Listen,
said maybe.
Listen, I called Skip after his first start. I was like, Coach, this guy's real. And of course, the second start. And Ben McDonald is the greatest of all time. And that I don't care if Skeens is 17-0, they win a title, and he strikes out 250 guys, which he may. He might strike out 250 guys.
Right.
Ben did it for 3 years, and Ben put the whole thing on the map.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, you listen to Skip, they waited down to the levee when he would pitch on Friday nights, and when people realized how fun it was, it started to, you know, Ben is the godfather of it all.
Absolutely.
He's on the Mount Everest. Like, honestly, I really believe the next statue,
Should be him.
it should be Ben McDonald and a big old knuckle curveball right in front of the front gates of Alec Box and Bronze, and Todd Walker right next to him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And hopefully one day
No
Eddie
doubt.
and Warren and all the other guys, right? But Ben McDonald would be the first
Yes.
of the player statues. He won the Golden Spikes. He was. I'm not just being sentimental here.
No, you just
No,
saying
there's,
facts.
There's
I
a
don't think there's
40-year
I don't think there's
record.
any denying it.
No.
If you're gonna throw a player up there, the
It's
conversation
Ben.
starts with
It's
Ben.
Big Ben.
Yeah.
202 strikeouts, still an SEC record 40 years ago. I mean, like this guy did it. Paul Skeens, he may be the most talented pitcher that we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He could never be Ben McDonald now. I mean,
Yeah.
if he'd have come as a freshman, might have been as a freshman.
Right.
Now, when we talk about greatness of Dylan Cruz, I think it's fair to say, yeah, we could start talking about him being the greatest of all time. Does he have to hit 482 in order to hit 396 on his career like Todd did?
Is that what it is?
396.
But
He's
is
got
that
to
he
hit
has to hit
482, and I might have that off. But he's got to hit in the 480s to
Where
hit
is he right now?
396
Right.
for his career.
Right.
The home runs, you know, Furness has 80,
never catch.
Cressy
He'll never
has
catch.
78.
He'll
He
never
can get
catch
to
his
third.
number.
He can get to third, but Furness and Cressy, as great as they did it for 4 years.
Yeah.
So you have to consider things like that. But I think he's well on his way.
Yeah.
And hitting 480, if they win a championship,
It has to win the championship.
right? That's part of this equation.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to start talking about the great players, you know, Alex Bregman. Professionally, at the end of the day, will
Yeah.
probably be the greatest LSU player of all time when you consider his whole body of work. But when you talk about while wearing purple and gold,
Yeah.
he was great.
Yeah.
He was amazing. But was he better at LSU than, say, DJ LeMahieu? No. DJ LeMahieu won a national championship. And I
Well,
think
the numbers were better too.
and that too, but I think you start
Well,
with the teams that were able to bring championships.
well, and
to the
here's
school.
why that's a good conversation and a good starter here.
Although Ben wouldn't be one of those.
No, he wouldn't.
But
I think
again,
Here's why that's a
he's
good-
He's the one off.
he's the.
Here's why that's a good
That's
conversation
right.
here too, is because it's a simple fact that look, this isn't pro ball where there's 162 games and it's very hard for a Mike Trout to basically dictate that we're in the playoffs. All right, this is a shorter season.
Mm-hmm.
This team is good enough and will be in a playoff situation, so you're going to have to show up in those situations as well. It does matter as far as for legacy here.
Oh, it
Just-
matters.
And I think that LSU makes the run, like everybody expects him to make this year, and you see Paul Skeens continue to do what he does, and you see Dylan Cruz. At that point, when they do that through the postseason, it's the conversation is over for me as far as best player. If he can do that and continue to do that through the postseason, and they win it, there's no argument, because I do think he's gonna hit 480.
You do.
I do think he's gonna hit 4. Last night. Now, he should have had 2 hits. The first one he hit, the hardest ball he hit all game was a line out, right?
Yeah.
Now that could be an issue, right? Like,
I
not
thought that
everything's
ball
gonna
was
fall.
so down off
Me
the
too.
bat.
I thought it was way more
Which is
in the
why-
gap off
Me
the bat,
too.
and it
Which
was
is
more
why I
at
thought-
the it was
I feel
more
like
at the
they
right
had him
fielder.
Which is
probably
why I
played.
thought Gavin Dugan had the perfect read on it.
You
People got mad because
you
they
actually
tag up, but I'm
you
like,
actually
that's
said
not
it
a
right. It was in the gap. They just hadn't played way
Yeah.
better than what we thought.
Neither
they did.
base runner had
Yeah.
the right read. They both took off, because it was a gap ball all day off the bat.
Right.
I mean, how many times have we seen the guy do it?
But
Like,
I don't even think that's a tag up ball. It's hard to tag him from second on that anyway.
And I think the guy was too close.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
Exactly.
it wasn't like he was running back.
Exactly.
There
He
you
was
go.
running on
We
a
had this
line
conversation. I said he
towards
ran
the-
straight
still saw his
across.
chest the whole way.
Straight,
And I said, if I
exactly.
remember
Exactly.
correctly, if I'm standing on third looking straight at second base into the outfield, I'm pretty sure where he caught it at wasn't even on this side of the bag, which means he stops and it's easy to make a throw. He's not even throwing across his body there.
Can't tag.
Can't tag on that.
I think they read it right. I think they did.
I did too. I think both of them in a row. They
I
read
agree.
it right.
I
Maybe
agree.
Dugas could have been a little closer because, if it gets down, he's got all day.
Well, I said this. I said, if I know you're a really good runner, those are the guys we're teaching. I would be teaching up to say, these are the balls I need you to where if it's caught, I want you to take the chance of 2 steps, touch the bag, and take off.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want Dugas doing that.
Right.
No.
I'm not sure I want him doing
Right.
that.
Fair
right,
enough.
Right.
Fair
so,
enough.
I mean, look, we talk about it like this, like that graded, like they're gonna be considered the greatest. Like the numbers are gonna be there, and it's just I'm enjoying watching them play.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to cut the conversation short, but I know you got somewhere to be.
No,
We're
look,
almost-
it's something for you guys to follow. 40-year 89. What are
Yeah.
we at now? 2023.
Yeah.
What's that? 34 years or so.
We're just gonna have to
Hey,
trust
we
you on
trust
that
it.
one.
We trust it.
I'm trying to do math. 3, 1. Yeah, I think it's 34 years. Ben McDonald struck out 202 people. It's not just an LSU thing. It's an SEC thing, which you start going down the list of SEC
there's some
arms
arms.
over the last 30 years, and there's some dudes
Right.
in that list that nobody's ever struck out 200 batters, 202. As of last night, both 7 starts. I got Todd. If you don't follow Todd Politz, you got to follow him on Twitter because he's dude. This guy's got it all. He's got the database. He's got the whole thing. 7 starts. Ben McDonald went 55 innings. 3 innings of those were relief. Okay, in relief, he had 80 strikeouts. 55 innings of work, 80 strikeouts. Through 7 starts last night for Skeens, he's at 44 and a third.
Is that after last night?
After last night,
yeah.
44 and a third innings, so 11 innings less, and he's got 83 strikeouts.
Oh, my God.
So he has 3 more strikeouts than Ben with 11 less innings pitched in this first 7 starts.
What you watching?
And he
him-
hasn't popped the 15. You know the
No.
15's coming at some point.
Hey,
Like the 15,
what
you
you're
know
what
I
you're
mean?
watching
It's
with
crumbling.
him is
Yeah.
so
Maybe
the numbers,
Maybe.
like the double amount of strikeouts to innings thrown. You usually see that with guys that are maybe relievers and or when the sample size is small. When you start seeing that outside of that, you're like, this isn't different. This is you may get 1 pitch every single not every single at bat,
Whole game.
3 or 4 at bats.
It's high school ace.
Yeah.
That's the last
Right.
time
That's-
you do it.
this
As
is
a
like
high school
goofy
ace,
golf.
you strike out 2 guys an inning, and then it starts to get tougher to do that.
Yeah.
Except for the guys who just keep being dudes, and
Right.
I mean that's what we're seeing.
You
right
don't
now.
you don't
Right.
see stuff like that. That's
Right.
not that's not something that comes to the eye.
And oh, by the way, 8 walks.
which
Yeah.
is crazy. Which is
Unbelievable.
that's the biggest
10
part.
to 1. I mean,
That's the biggest part why we keep saying, hey, number 3, like now,
No.
on a lot of teams too.
and maybe I don't know.
And maybe we're shortchanging him.
It might be.
It seems foolish.
And the
right?
only
It
reason
really
I'm
does.
saying
Like
that is
it
'cause
does. It's hard to say that because you're like,
the
he's got to
only
pitch a
reason
little bit.
There's so many major leaguers and
Right.
watching like, these guys.
The only reason I'm saying
Because they haven't. I understand it. You haven't
Just
watched.
watch
I
it.
didn't want to say it. I keep saying it. I'm like, man, this is.
I've
This
been
is
on
something
since
else.
the first night. So I was at lunch with Jay, and I'll finish. We've probably got to wrap this up.
Yep.
I finished. I said, "Is he going to hit?" And he said, "Well, no, he's too valuable." And I said, "Well, if he hit, like, would he start every day? If he was just a player?" He said, "He'd be my starting catcher and hit 25 home runs." The Skeens guy. And I'm thinking, Coach, 25 dingers. He better be pretty valuable.
Yeah.
And he said, "Have you not seen him yet?" And I said, "No, I just an inning or a hitter here or there." And he said, "Dude, I had to put runners on base in his inner squads. Like when he'd be finished for his 3rd inning of work, I'd be, oh, give me 1st and 3rd. We'll say 1 out, just so the guy could go through some, step off type stuff, right?" And then I went to the box, and after the
Yep.
1st inning,
Yeah.
was like,
Okay.
oh my! Now I understand why. No, Paul, stay away from the bats.
Yep.
Stay. Are you cool? Like, stay in a bubble for 6 days because he's.
And we
that
also
good.
talked about. I was like, I don't think people understand. Like, the lineup, the roster is so deep. If we need that as a hitter too, we're probably not as good as you think you are.
Right.
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 The
Right.
lineup
You don't
is
need
so
them.
deep. We don't. As crazy as it sounds, if we say, hey, he'd start every day and hit 25, we don't need you there.
Not right
Which
now.
is crazy.
It's crazy.
Crazy. Oh, we don't need 25 in the lineup. Okay.
Oh, all right.
Well, we need the 102 on the mound though.
And it's
Gotta
working.
have it. And it's working. Dude, I appreciate
Oh,
you.
man, no
I
problem.
wish we had more
could've
time.
ran
We're
this for
gonna
another
get you
hour.
back on. We're gonna literally talk
let's
all
do it.
ball,
Yeah, let's
whatever.
do it,
But I know you gotta go.
Yeah.
We're about to shut it down. You know what? We're just gonna shut it down for now. It's Friday. We don't really need
We're in past time.
the other seggies, huh? Right? I mean, I'll give you my curtain call right now. My curtain call from last night was LSU's. The atmosphere.
I didn't even put it in
Alex
there. I was gonna say
Alex
that
Bucks.
obviously it hit the highest attendance ever, but I was like it gave me goosebumps being in the stadium last night because I haven't had that feeling in that stadium, and I'm just being honest, years.
Yep, no doubt.
Just being honest.
No doubt.
It's been years.
You think it's the same way tonight?
It's not gonna be. I mean, I think it's gonna be hyped and it's gonna be very good because you haven't won anything yet in the series. You only won the first game, and it's a Friday night. So
That's
yeah,
what I'm
I
hoping
think because
Thursday
it's still a night
Friday
game.
night,
Yeah, I think because it's still a night
you
game
won.
and it's Friday night, I think you still do
Yeah.
get that tonight. But it was legit special last night.
No doubt.
My curtain call is to the LSU faithful.
Yep.
That was
no
amazing.
doubt, no doubt. Dude, I appreciate it.
Of course. anytime,
Enjoy
man.
calling the game. You're watching Mik'd Up. We'll be back live Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. for Jay Johnson Mondays because he's awesome and he still comes on even before his own show, which is awesome. So appreciate it. Come out to the game. Look for me. I do not have a tailgate tonight, but I will be roaming around, me and Jay, and maybe Lloyd, if we can find him another one. And we'll see you out there. Watch
I'll
Mik'd
call
Up.
the game
Peace.
If you need a third spotter.
You need a ticket?
Yeah.
We actually do need a spotter.
No, never mind.
It's usually a student.
I'm gonna be hammer drunk. 3, 8, I don't know. Probably.
down?
So are we sometimes.
Then I'm in.